I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy. Think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where diseases.
Hello listener, welcome to another episode of Tactical Awareness. It's season 1, episode 32. We're wrapping up the previews. It's almost Gen Con, and as such, of course, Corvus Belli has been spoiling the reinforcements and new models, which we can expect to see released over the next year, coming out for the end song, sort of like new phase. So we've gotten 6 different spoilers so far. I think we have CA and Nomads to go, and maybe N2A. So let's dive into boys and get this going.
There's nothing about.
It's just that it all might not mean anything.
It also might not mean anything. Also, yes.
I think like the fundamental change that needs to happen for this to not all just be stupid is wait.
There's no brakes on this train on. We can't wait.
Yeah.
The good news is we've been completely covered in new releases. So hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Tactical Awareness. It's season 1, episode 32, and we have been exhausted with spoilers this week. I don't know about you guys, but like I've been drowning in them. I can't even tell what's what anymore. I don't know who's getting what spoiler, or what things are coming for which faction. I tried to focus on like my factions. There's some standouts, and obviously there's some very big standouts with like the tags, and like the kind of crazier units.
I've been pinning them all in the TAC Aware Discord as people post them in the Infinity News.
Yes,
so
you sure have.
See them, it's all compiled.
It's all compiled in the Discord, and that's been very useful and will be incredibly useful for this conversation because it's the only way we're going to be able to keep this coherent. And we're literally going to go over them in the order they were spoiled in, because that's the order that they were tagged in, which makes this way simpler for us to go through.
Except for the rules are 3 into the tags.
Yeah,
because I was like
the O12 stuff.
I did. I planned where he says Gladius Task Force coming in hot. It's not the pictures.
Oh,
come on, Dan, get on this. Yes, because you have the reinforcement rules as well. So we're gonna go through that today. We're gonna do the mailbag because we love the mailbag and answering your questions. And we're going to see what everyone else has been doing. I don't think we really need to do a catch up this week for what we've been doing for Infinity, because I don't know about you, but all I've been doing is getting bombarded with people asking what I think about all this Infinity stuff. I got to play a game against a lovely fellow named Reuven from Germany, and a game against Chris. And other than that, I haven't done anything else for Infinity because I've been drowning in these like spoilers. I don't know about you guys.
I acquired and built and am painting my first Stigmata. And I also got all of the ninjas.
Nice. All of the ninjas.
That new box that has 5 ninjas in it.
Yeah.
And
it's got Shinobu and like 4 ninjas. It's a great box.
Well, it's also got it's got Kitsune, 2 ninjas, an Oniwaban, the Shikami.
Shikami, that's right.
And then I have the other old Kitsune at the same time, who I also got.
Who could be like another Oniwaban or whatever you need.
It could be whatever you need.
Whatever you decide. What about you, Dan? Did you paint your Seki droid yet?
I'm going to paint it tonight while we're talking. You've
been painting orcs. I saw you
painting a lot of 40K.
So many 40K orcs. You got on the orc and goblin train again. And as much as you've claimed that you didn't pick orcs and they weren't really your favorite army, you sure seem to have a real soft spot for orcs. Just saying.
It's what I know. It's what I know.
It's what I know. Is what they turned you into. The lure of the orc has been strong. That's all I'm saying. You've sidetracked into orcs powerfully.
There's no going back now.
There's no going back. All of your Yujing is going to get painted like orcs. They're only going to get painted green. Beaten up armor. You should do that. You should just paint them in like dirty, beat up armor with checkers and dags on them.
Do you see how much I've already painted Yujing?
I have not been paying attention to that. No,
a lot.
Have you? Have you really? I saw your draw, like all your remotes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I've kind of done like the base orange / white mechanical stuff on
nice.
like a big chunk of them. So I got to go back and like detail, but
Awesome.
I'm kind of waiting. Real news is I've contacted Quebec Fenris Workshop and been like, hey, how was your inventory? Do you have that box yet? Yeah, I need that Yujing collection box. And they're like, no, it's still back ordered. I'm like, it's been 6 months. So we'll see if I eventually get it, because I still want to use my credits, and that'll use up last, and then I don't have to deal with them anymore.
That feels like, I was gonna say that feels like we've moved from back order to just we're just not ordering this for you.
They're like, why did we ever make this deal?
Well,
We're buying War Machine again.
On the upside, the War Machine's no longer in your house, which is good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I have so much room.
I'm working on that. I'm desperately working on getting everything out of the studio that I possibly can, which has been good. I'm purging hard.
I saw that.
Yeah, I'm purging so hard right now. I'm probably gonna purge some Infinity Con soon. Speaking of which, I was lucky enough to get my hands on a copy of Endsong, which I'll talk a little bit about. I got a copy of the new tag box, the Cascuda, and the whatchamacallit, the Ajax mini in it to paint up, which is pretty exciting. I'm gonna work on, especially now I can see his point values and stuff, although we don't know what factions he's available to, so I'm not gonna use him in a game anytime soon. I do want to get him on the table and get him painted. As well as some other bits and bobs, the pre-release stuff from Gen Con, which is very cool. Corvus Belli. So there will be, when this goes up, you'll have already heard the GMG review of Endsong, but if you want to check it out on the website, you'll be able to see going over the book, all the background faction stuff, and the missions that are in there, because there are no really rules. it's mostly background and
is it Ajax or Maximus in that box?
Maximus, sorry, what did I say? I say Ajax. It's late. I'm punch drunk. Yeah, the other Ajax, new Ajax, Shield
better
Ajax. Yeah, should better Ajax. Yeah,
he might not be better Ajax, but he's definitely something.
He's definitely real good. He's definitely huge.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump in and do some questions, and then we can dig into the spot. And is everything out? I think even Tohaa's out at this point. We waited one day. Like, we were going to record yesterday, and then Owen was like, we should just wait another day and see what else gets spoiled. And then it was just everything came out like last 24 hours.
The only thing that I think is missing is Combined Army, or not.
Oh, yeah, you're right. There's no Cascuda.
Which is a big one, because the Cascuda's coming out implies that Extra is going to be theirs.
Yes.
And then if anything happens for the NA2s. And I have no idea what that could look like.
So if that's been spoiled by the time this comes out, then we won't be talking about that yet. But we've seen all the human sphere stuff, it looks like.
I hope the NA2 is just a soup of all of the mercenary models.
Yeah.
It's not anything coherent. It's like
it's a
like,
character Liberto.
Yeah, it's like 15 characters, Krakats, what are they called?
Transforming authorized bounty hunters on motorcycles.
Yeah, like authorized bounty hunters and the heavy infantry guy that's really good. 14 points.
Diggers.
And
yeah.
Diggers. And that's
multiple
Diggers.
Diggers.
There you
it's
go.
a Digger
that's
that turns into a motorcycle. It's every possible booty roll of Digger. It's just 20 Diggers. It's just 20 different Diggers with different weapons they could possibly get for booty, which would be incredible. And a trip hammer. 20 different trip hammers.
There's just 20 profiles.
Could you imagine just 20 different? They made a miniature for every possible roll in the booty chart. That'd be incredible. I think it's only actually like 10 rolls, right? Because it's not like a roll per side.
Like 9 of them are like armor and mimetism.
That's
stuff.
true. Yeah. So. Yeah, but they give them extra mentions. They give them extra plates.
Sure.
It'd be cool either way. I think it'd be awesome. So let's jump in and do some questions, and then we can get to.
I feel like that would be a good hobby project.
Just like 20 different. That's the kind of thing that Spud would do. Like 100. Like actually, that's the kind of thing I'm surprised Spud hasn't done. If Spud goes hard into the paint again for Infinity, if you're listening to the Spud, I expect you to have a miniature for every possible booty roll now.
I do have a 3D printed modified tag for my trip hammer, so I could just print out 20 trip hammers.
I mean, you could.
All right, new project.
All right. Let's do some questions. All right. So once again, this is the mailbag. The mailbag is linked in the description of the podcast, wherever great podcasts are sold. So if you're looking at this in the future, you can go and ask us a question. We answer 3 per episode, each from different people. So go ahead and keep firing them in here, so we have a good draft of these to ask each time. We're gonna run out down to 1 with this time. So get in there and ask questions. People need to just ask all kinds of questions, all the questions you possibly can. So this first one's from Class Claywood. It's for all of us, and it says Corvus Belli says old factions will still be supported in the future, but that makes the game harder to get into as a beginner. Code 1 does away with this problem, but also simplifies the game mechanics too far, in my opinion. Do you think Infinity will or should have different game modes like Magic the Gathering Standard, Modern, Legacy that allow different collections of models to be used? Who wants to take? I have a pretty strong opinion about this, but who wants to go before me?
No.
So your strong opinion.
Absolutely not. I don't think there should be more than one way to play the game. I think that one of the things that Infinity's done really well is that with very few exceptions right now, I think except for Tohaa and MRF, while it is difficult to get all the models you might want, all the factions still have at least enough models to be relatively playable. And I think it's okay if some are hard to get for a while and then come back around because they refresh the factions fairly often. They're doing a full model refresh of Steel Phalanx right now. Those models are old. Those models are 10 years old. I think it's fine. And I think that, and so this is like the two-parter. I think it's okay that certain things are hard to get because the aftermarket exists and the proxy culture is generous enough in this game that I don't think that you should have too hard a time doing it. And most talented Infinity hobbyists will just convert to things they want either way. We're just talking about converting different bounty hunters and stuff. And the second half of that is I think Code 1 is not for Infinity players. So Code 1 is for people who've never played Infinity before. I think that we make a mistake very often of thinking that Code 1 is for people who are already playing miniature war games. I think Code 1 is for people who've never played a miniature war game or who come from a very two-dimensional world of miniature wargaming, and I think it exists for a reason. And because it's not for us, doesn't, I think, qualify us to say that, well, you should just jump right into regular Infinity, because that's not for everybody. And I know people who Code 1 is perfect for, and they love painting Infinity miniatures, and they'll never go past Code 1 because the rest of it's just too much for them. And they're equally valid as Corvus Belli's customers as we are. So I'm glad that product exists, and I hope they keep supporting it because I think that that product's really good for the retailer. I think that product's really good for customers that aren't me. And I'm able to differentiate those two things. So those are my two strong opinions. What about you guys?
No, it's the stupidest idea ever. I'm sorry. Like, Magic is so unaffordable and horrific and just terrible for people who want to be competitive on it because you just constantly new sets like all the time. Like, imagine if Corvus Belli released like 30 new miniatures a year, or 50.
Yeah.
You had the power creep, and so you have to buy all the new ones to stay relevant in a competitive environment.
I mean, there's a company that already does that. If you want to go play Games Workshop games, you can. Ask a Space Marine player from 30 years ago how good their Space Marine army is.
But anyways, I remember playing like Shadespire, and it was super fun, and I loved it. And then there was too many cards to keep track of and too many warbands. And then they're like, actually, none of these other cards are relevant anymore. Only the new ones.
Yeah.
And I just gave up the game. I'm just like, screw this. It's like, it's not worth buying all these sets. And then they took it back and they have like these generalized sets now and whatever. And so I haven't played it since then. So it seems a little better. But my point is just
it's much improved, but I get what you're saying.
You just don't want that kind of crap in your game because it's hard enough to get a community going as well. If you're going to divide it into like sub communities, you're just going to ruin your game.
Yeah, I'd rather it was harder for the player to get the things they're looking for, but that everything's always valid and you can use a miniature that you bought. You know what I mean? Over time.
Speaking of that, 100% they should bring this in. Because we've already established we're okay with invalidating purchases and miniatures that no longer function and they don't have identities. I have probably 50 models from Infinity that are not just like not viable, they no longer function as the miniatures they were, and at best are proxies for other things. Because
what 50 miniatures? Like
my 3 Azraels, who are all on small bases.
Okay.
Okay,
but the you can't use the base as an example. I get what you're saying there, but the miniature is still valid if you put it in the right size base.
Okay, and then so I have to modify him, or just like, hey guys, just remember he's actually this big.
It's just glue 40 mil base.
Yeah, and then I do the same thing for my.
All our tags had to have that happen to them, so you can't say that because like every tag had to be put on a 55 mil base.
Okay, there's also only like 10 tags at the time. Like half of my Magister Knights have to fight for their lives against the Teutonic Knight models, who fight for their lives against the new Teutonic Knight models. Like those are all one profile now, of which I can only take like 4 or 5, whereas I used to be able to take 8. So I lost a whole bunch of miniatures there, as in like you can proxy these as other things and you can rebase them and stuff. You can make the 4 Sepulchre Knights that I have on big bases and then also only bring 1. Like my 4 Montessas, who are now 1 guy on a motorcycle, they're definitely not invalidated. Like we do it, like it happens, and I'm okay with that because new models come out and new profiles that diversify it and make it different. But like, yeah, just age out the lower half of whatever's played, make new models come out, and you can proxy the old ones as new ones. Like you said, just throw them on a base. You don't necessarily need to make it that they buy whole new armies every time, because we've already established proxies are okay.
For sure,
If
but what
someone's-
we're talking about is subdividing those models as like whole armies become standard, modern, or legacy. So like you want an entire army list that's in army to become an army list you can't play in a certain format anymore.
Right, but you could also just have less total models being produced across the board by
I think that's
having less
happening,
for
though.
each of them.
Yeah, that's
but then
happening.
Have all
though.
of them stay.
Like that happened in military raiders, and that's why you have these models that are like you had old names that are kind of new, like Father Knights. You know what I mean? Father Knights are now all
Knight of Justice.
not named Montessa. They're
Montessa Knights are now Montessa Knights, but motorcycle edition.
No, I'm talking about
Knights.
the Father Knight is now the Knight of Justice, right? They just
Right.
they changed the name, but it's the same miniature.
Sure. And I'm saying that there's nothing stopping you from doing that with whatever, and then just having a more like curated total number of profiles.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
And then you say, hey, you can also play, like, if you click on the right side of army where it says mercenaries, there's another tab there that says legacy, and it brings back every profile that has existed, and you guys can play an event like that. Like it's called NA2 Mercs, and you click that, only it's called legacy, and it's every profile. But in the modern ITS setting,
I see what you're saying.
We've
like,
reduced the
not taking whole armies up, but like curating the army list a little bit.
Right. And
that sounds like a mid between what's being suggested and your idea. I don't mind that.
Well, I mean, Magic the Gathering wipes out entire like section, like the entire game ostensibly, because the whole park goes away. That doesn't work. So I'm of the opinion that like you reduce every faction to like 25 profiles, and those profiles cycle out with new models as they come in. So you don't need 9 versions of like heavy infantry. There's only 4. And the new ones come out and they're different than the old 4. And you could proxy your old ones because they don't exist anymore. So your models are still viable and there's a healthy proxy culture, like you said. But you don't end up in the situation where a new person sits there and goes like, I'm going to build an army. I like Yujing. There's 150 different mod. Like,
I mean, that's kind of what the sectorials do already, right? They cut the pure list down to smaller amounts of lists.
Sure. But the thing is, for me too, like you can curate it better then. You can resist the bloat a little bit more, and it's not like you don't have been in a situation where, like for Haqqislam, any model that you make has to fight for its life against a Ghazi, right? Like they've already kind of shrunk it because they reduced the Ghazis, but like anytime you're going to bring something, you got to remember the Asawira is there, and like, is the thing that you bring out interesting or different enough from the Asawira that people will want to play it, other than the fact that it's a cool looking model? Well, what if we aged out the Asawira and there's a new guy who's on the block, and this is the new form of that in whatever shape that may take?
Like this question just seems to be more about keeping old armies in the game in the future, and then how that makes it hard for new players to get into the game.
Right.
So I understand what you're saying. I think from a game point of view, yes, absolutely streamlining this.
Like, so like you could do that with the old factions too, where like if the case is we can't support Tohaa because there are so many numbers already and the sales on Tohaa isn't good enough to justify it. I don't know if that's the case, but if that's the argument that's been made, you only release 10 boxes for Tohaa and 10 for everybody else, instead of the wall of boxes that exist for some factions and the dearth or nothing that now exists for others, by just aging them out. And then you have a rotating, and then models will still be hard to find, but you don't need those to play at the competitive level because your new models are the ones that are in the competitive meta. And
I don't think we're talking about competitive, I think we're talking about people getting in the game in general.
Right. But then the problem is like you get in the game in general and you go, wow, I really like this cool model. Oh yeah, you can't get that. That Krakow Renegade was a special edition ITS miniature from season blah 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 blah. Oh, can I proxy this guy as him? Yes. Well, it doesn't matter. But I don't know. That's my case. I think there are too many models, too many profiles, and it is daunting and hard to stock and hard to get in with new players. And also being the guy who goes and looks for old models so that I can use them in random lists that I think of, it is really hard to find some things. And it's to the point where some factions are hard to collect because of that. Tohaa, of course, the standard.
Yeah, JSA, the problem
So,
with JSA. Yeah.
Yep. JSA was in the same boat. They've now re-released it. But yeah, if you just made it where those boxes, like the starter set boxes, didn't go away until they got aged out and a new starter set came out with like 20 models in it, which they're getting closer and closer to. And then it's like, hey, here's the new one. All of your old models can be used as the new models if you want, but here are what the new cool models look like, which is already how they're selling half of them. Like, makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think the question is not necessarily about, because I would argue they're doing a better job now than they have ever of curating how they release stuff. I think the problem is that there's so much product out there right now that's from a time before they really did that with those like 4 model expansion boxes, and you've got a mix of product still probably in their warehouse, in distributor warehouses, and in stores that doesn't necessarily mesh with how they're releasing stuff now, and so it's confusing for retailers, it's confusing for distributors, it's confusing for customers. I think maybe this is a problem that goes away a little bit just through time, just through that stock getting purchased and bought up, and then their new vision for what the stock looks like you said, with those 20 model boxes and action packs and stuff being like the thing that's consistently out there. That might actually just be like a self-solving problem.
The other thing too is you can scale up for time. Like Magic has like seasons essentially where it recycles them. You could do this on a like 4-year time span
for sure.
Like it doesn't need to be every
like
6
instant.
months.
Yeah, it's not a
your
snap.
armies are invalidated.
Yeah, it's not like it's like a thing. Like, not a Thanos snap. Yeah, for sure.
Right? It can be, hey, US Ariadna is getting a revamp, and so the current models are basically the profiles that you have in the current models are probably going to go away, a lot of them, and there's going to be a 20 box that comes out for them that has all new profiles and all new models, but you could still use your old ones as proxies for them.
Yeah, and most of your models will still be valid to be used as X or Y. Yeah,
and there is still a legacy format where it has all the old profiles as well. Like, I don't see why that helps new players getting into the game, because you can say, yeah, here's the modern way we play. You can buy this 20 box, you're ready to go. In a couple of years, they'll come out with a whole new box and you get all new miniatures to play in a new game with your army. And then there's a special format where we play every year where we have everything come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
makes sense to me.
I guess we'll see. I mean, I guess we'll see, because I think the problem is that Corvus Belli always has to do the tap dance of making everybody happy all the time, right? And what you might want, or what I might want, or what Dan might want will be different, and versus what other consumers and even the retailers want. So I do acknowledge, I think all three of us acknowledge that this was a valid question. It is something that people notice.
Yeah. And I mean, I also have a giant pool of old models that are never coming back.
Yeah.
Like, I recognize that. And like, that was my case at the beginning, is like, I have all these old things that they don't exist. Like, I can't play Magister Knights. They're gone. And
but I can proxy the Squallow Mark II right now with my old first edition Squallow, because he's on a 40 mil base still.
I can pretend my Magister Knights or something else, but like,
yeah, I mean, it's not pretend. They're Infinity miniatures that don't have a profile right now that can be whatever from that faction, basically, that looks like them.
Yeah, it's pretend. That's
pretend. I guess proxy means pretend. Yeah, sure. Never mind. This is gonna be another one.
Speak and act as to make it appear that something is the case when it is in fact not.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That is what pretend means.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Great. So
question 2.
No, just a quick,
okay. Go on, Dan. Sure. Tie this up. Or I'm just gonna keep arguing this entire
at the end of Mark III of War Machine, Privateer Press made a concerted effort to be like rounds of balancing of like, let's look at tournament results. Let's look at what people are complaining about. And they didn't do it perfectly, but I think they kind of were on the right end of, like, it was like every like 6 months or like to a year, it would just be like, we're adjusting these points. So these units that never get seen anymore get seen. Maybe we'll adjust their rules a little bit and shake the game up. And all of a sudden, like, this thing that was oppressing everybody in this one faction that was maybe a little too powerful, now they change the rule where they're still good, but they won't see them in every list anymore. And that's really, really hard to do, Because then there's like Song of Ice and Fire who did it way too much, and it's like adjusting things every like 3 months, and you're like, just slow down, let the meta like resolve itself a bit. But I think like with the ITS seasons, I think like if Corvus Belli like mixed up like we had like a point adjustment like a few months ago, whatever, and it was like that's cool, and like some new profiles out of here and there. But if they just made it like a thing of like new ITS season of like here's some new stuff and maybe some old profiles disappear.
That's usually what
that
happens. This will be your first time going through it. That's usually what happens. Yeah.
So I like that a lot.
Or get rid of them.
Okay. Moving on. All right. The next question comes from Emperor Norton. It's for everybody. It says, do you have any random cool HVT models that you are unreasonably fond of? Or for that modern models with camo impersonation? When I played Ariadne, I wanted to use those cardboard boxes as camo 0 tokens. And now I'm thinking of printing off Lloyd and Your Forger from Anime Spy Family to use as impersonation tokens. Do we have any gimmick miniatures that we really like?
No.
You used to have your Pupnautica team made all out of tin bots that I loved. You had that.
Yeah. Not an
and you also had, what was the one? Didn't you make a bunch of tin bots riding motorcycles when you had your
No, I always talked
thing?
about it because there's a guy who made that list. I wonder if that picture still floats around. There's a dude who did it and it looked awesome.
It was like crazy koalas and tin bots all riding motorcycles.
There's a whole bunch of Yazmats driving motorcycles.
Yeah, all the Nazmats, that's right.
Nazmats, that's what they're called. Yeah, I didn't do it. Somebody else did it, and I thought it was a great idea. And I had enough Nazmats that I'm like, I feel like I could do that, but never did. Yeah, good luck finding that picture.
So, I mean, it's a gimmick or a meme infinity thing from like 5 years ago. Probably not. Yeah, I don't really have any. I like I have a couple conversions in my army. I like my Keelguard conversion, the old trench guard to Keelguard that I converted. I don't really have any. I don't really have any like gimmicky. I've never really done that. I just kind of paint the Infinity miniatures as they are because I like them. So I haven't really done any like conversions like that. What about you, Dan?
I think I'm just too new to the model line to want to be able to modify everything. I'm just kind of appreciating everything as is right now still. That's fair. Like there's some things where it's like the Lynx, which I really love, only has, I mean, it has another, but basically they just come with a sniper rifle, and so modifying one to like a plasma rifle, just cutting it out and kind of putting another one in there, that was fun to do. But for the general sense, I was just saying like, yeah, I really like the models as they are. So eventually I might start doing that. But
that's a boring answer we just gave, but I agree with you. All right, Mike A asks for all of us, hi guys. On many of your list builds during the faction reviews, you all mentioned Swick. I've been using your podcast on a lot about Infinity, but I don't recall hearing you mention what this was during Intro to Infinity. What is Swick? Is there a number of requirement that list when you're building your lists? We're referring to SWC. So SWC is your special weapon cost. It's the additional, you get 1 point for every 50 points of army size there is. So typically in a 300-point list, you have 6 SWC, and we abbreviate fast say it to SWIC.
He probably knows what SWC is.
Yeah. So if you hear say SWIC, we mean SWC, means special weapon cost. That's it. All right, there we go. We got to the mailbag. And we only had one that devolves into an argument, which is the best kind of mailbag. So let's start talking about profiles. And the first one first we'll talk about reinforcements. I want to keep this brief because we're going to have an argument about it. I can already tell, because I think one of the problems with the reinforcement rules, and I'm just going to head this off, is we haven't really seen it in practice. And also it's a game mode, not a core rule adjustment, which means it's only going to be relevant in certain games. So if you haven't caught up on the reinforcement rule, you've finally seen what it is. It's basically a game mode that divides your army list into a 250-point parent list that has 5 SWC, and then a reinforcement list of 100 points. And I think, what is it, 4 SWC or 3 SWC? You get like a bonus. Is it still just 2?
2 more.
This is standard 2?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So 2 and 100. And they arrive on turn 3, or if you've lost 50 points or more of your army by turn 2, on turn 2 during the request reinforcements phase, which comes after the executive use of command tokens. So the tactical phase, basically, you have the ability to use command tokens like move models between groups and stuff. And whether it's group 2 or group 3, then you request reinforcements. You have to have a model in your list that has the comm, which is basically like a little token. They summon the drop pod. The drop pod's placed anywhere in your half of the table. And then models are placed in your half of the table inside zone of control of the drop pod token. And because they arrive in the, and again, we don't have certain answers to this, but this is where the argument came up with me and Owen, is because they arrive outside of the game turn, they generate no ARO, and certain missions just immediately kind of break with the ability to just like dump 100 points on turn 3 into the game
Where did
table.
you get the they can only show up on 3 or 2 dependent on losses?
It was in the video.
Oh, okay.
So the screen caps you've seen, it was described by Carlos.
Got it.
In the video, and so that's there was no slide for it. That's why we don't have screen caps of it. That's why you can't.
I thought
see
they
it.
arrived on 2 or 3, and they don't arrive on 1 unless you lost it. A lot of points.
I think it's turn 3. It's never on turn 1. It's turn 3 or turn 2 if you've lost 50 points or more. The idea being, if you've gone to 200 points, another 100 points shows up, and you have 300 points again if you lose 50 points in turn 1.
Yeah.
Because remember, it can only happen at the start of your second turn. So if in turn 1 you've taken a big beating,
I mean,
and you've lost
mechanically, it
50
could
points,
happen on the first turn.
Yeah.
Like, technically, unless they've made an additional rule on top of it. Because, like,
Yeah.
mechanically, it states at the start of the turn in the tactical phase, and you do have a tactical phase on your first turn. So,
yes. Well, this is
unless
my
they're gonna
understanding. I could be wrong, but this was what was explained in the video. Remember, there's
It
no
could also
published,
change.
and also there's it could also change, and there's no published document for this, and I couldn't find it in Endsong.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't find the rule in Endsong.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, in the book. I could be wrong. I've got it in front of me, but I looked through and there's reinforcements, but the reinforcements were just the descriptions of all the measures. So it was like the background and like flavor stuff.
Yeah. I guess just for anyone who wonders about the whole ARO thing and not being able to react, the requirement is for an enemy trooper to activate in order to provide a ARO. They are not activating when you're placing them down.
And they're deploying, which means that all the deployment rules would trigger to like hidden deployment as well as a mine layer.
Mine layer? Yeah. Yep. And they would also not react, and like things like mines and stuff would not affect them until they then activate after the order step and you get into the orders phase,
which is bizarre.
This is in the
But
tactical phase.
But yeah, you could set them up all kinds of weird places. Actually, you can't set them up inside the trigger area of mines, I don't think, though, can you?
You definitely can. You just
can
can't
set up
put
inside
your mine. You can't put
Oh,
your
that's right. You can't
mines
place
in
your
them.
mines there, but you could set up inside the trigger area of a mine. That's
correct.
Now,
Yeah.
do you determine the drop pod when you're reinforcing or at the beginning of the game?
Nope. When you reinforce them.
Yeah, you get to choose wherever they want them to go. And so this was I'm just gonna head this off and keep it short because this will devolve if we don't. But the argument was that, like, especially with the current ITS pack, there are missions like frontline, like basically any mission that scores end of games, scoring zone of control, that will just like any room
Or button
mission,
pressing.
like, or button pressing potentially, where you can just show up at the end of the game and basically just win. Because you can, if you arrive on turn, if you're going second and you choose to go second in a mission like this, you almost always would with reinforcements, because then your reinforcements are the last ones down. You can just put them wherever it's most advantageous on turn 3 and kind of just win in certain missions where you're just trying to put points in the zone, because there's no way to stop it.
5 orders and they can't do anything about it. You should likely, unless the dice betray you, win basically any scenario.
Yeah, just by being able to like eyeball where you're putting those points. Being able to just place 100 points in zones should just be able to win the game, basically. Especially when two out of, like in frontline, 2 out of 3 zones are in this deployment area, so you can swing 2 out of 3 zones potentially.
Or even more so when you have things like you have to flip buttons and they go back and forth against players, and you show up and your reinforcement has one of every type of specialist. So no matter the mission, that guy starts directly beside the button, and then I spend one order, he double dices and passes it. Oh, you killed him. Doesn't matter.
Like unmasking, you know what I mean? Where you've found all 3 HVTs, but you can't get to them, and you just dump guys and their mines next to the HVTs, right? Like, and just like,
or some of the profiles who are murder machines that are crazy fast that have come out.
Some of these, and that's where we'll get to this. So far, I mean, and it does cut both ways, but we have like the reinforcement rules themselves have raised a lot of kind of eyebrows, because they look like they're going to be more compatible with their own maybe missions and the new ITS pack. I have a lot of faith that there's just stuff we haven't seen. That this is designed to be us getting to try this out now with missions that aren't necessarily purpose built for them. And a lot like direct action, we might see a separate set of missions that are like assault missions where these become far more like, oh, they make more sense. And then they sit as a separate game mode that you can toggle on and off, just like limited insertion and all that other stuff. So it's slightly less exciting, I think, than maybe we hyped. And it could be our fault too, hyping it up because it was like going to be a new game mechanic. I still like it as a game mechanic because it's just mech deploy. It's what we kind of hypothesized it was going to be mechanically. And I like when they add new things, but it's not kind of maybe as world shattering as I was hoping it was going to be, where it was like every game was going to have this as a possibility. It was going to shake up the meta. Right now it's just an optional game mode.
Yeah, I suggest people just never play it. I mean,
Jesus, Dan.
Like,
I think when we
like,
see missions it's intended for, it'll be a ton of fun. I'm excited for the idea of it. I
like all the profiles. If these guys filter into their own factions, like if these like reinforcement sub-faction models show up in their own faction and like you can bring them without the reinforcement requirement, that's cool enough on its own. On the face of it, everybody getting like 3 or 4 new guys is sweet. I'm on board.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to get to. Is the really exciting part is all the new models that are coming out for everybody. Everyone's going to get a new box and a blister. I mean, except Tohaa, but everyone else is going to get a bunch of new models, and there's new profiles and to shake some things up. And like I'm especially excited for O12 stuff because it's such a limited faction and just gives more cool profiles. That we'll get to there eventually, but yeah. I love that. Love that.
Yeah, me too. And I'm actually hoping, and this is just like me hoping that this is the way it parses out, is that like this reinforcement doesn't just dump into one of the sectorials. They're kind of sprinkled across the sectorials, and then most, but maybe not all, show up in vanilla for each of these factions. And that's how I feel it's probably going to go, is like if you get like 8 reinforcement profiles, like some of them are already in parent factions, like Odalisks are already a thing in UK and Infinity.
I thought Odalisks were like freaking little robots.
No, they're girls with Pharaohware. They're kind of like bio assassins, and they give off like a Pharaohware kind of smell that makes them able to mind control you. Think of them like Poison Ivy from Batman. They can make you do what they want.
He won't do it.
They're not prostitutes.
Yeah, come on over. Stab. CC -9 because I got to come on the couch.
They're prostitutes. I was gonna say they're more like sirens, maybe. I
was like the undead hookers from Aleph.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, the undead hookers are literally murdered prostitutes killed by one of the characters in that game. That is a whole different thing.
We'll see.
I don't know that.
But Dan knows that. That's literally the gimmick for the undead prostitutes. The rotten bells, or whatever they're called.
We'll see.
So let's dive in then with the first. I think the first of these spoilers was Pano. Yeah, okay.
It goes in order actually.
Like does it? Okay. So Code Capital,
the top. Yeah.
The Neo-Terran support force, and I'm stoked about this obviously because I have a Neo-Terran army. Their core. So Code Capital is like you get the reinforcements list for it, and it's almost like a micro faction list. So all these are going to be like this. You have what's available to the reinforcement block, and this is the block that you can have as a Pano reinforcement. So if you're playing a Pano army, no matter if it's one of the sectorials or if it's vanilla, this is the reinforcement block for it if you're playing in that game mode. And it's blockers, which is a new profile, Blade Ops, Bolts, Orcs, Aquila Guard, Swiss Guard, the Squallow Mark II, which is a Stingray series size Squallow, Pathfinders, Bulleteers, Palbots, Richard Quinn, Shona, and Agnes Fiera. So lots of existing profiles and a few new ones. And then your fire team options, there's no core, but you can have a core. Actually, so there's a core. You can have a core Harris or duo of bolts with blockers mixed in. A duo of Squallows with bolts, which is kind of neat. And then your wild cards are the Blade Ops, who count as bolts, Orc Troops, Aquila Guard, Rich Quinn, Shona, and the Bulleteer and Pathfinder. So you can just basically duo or Harris everything in that list, which is crazy. It looks like we're getting new bolts as miniatures because there's pictures of them here, which I think is pretty cool. And then
I just want to clarify, in the rules, it's like your main list will have somebody with the reinforcements rule, and there'll be a separate profile for that.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be a profile added to all of the lists that has that which is the comm link or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is super weird because you don't actually require him to be alive to do anything. So it's like
But it means you
tax.
basically of your 250 points, there's going to be a model you're required to take.
Right. That's what I mean. He's like a weird tax. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Strange decision.
It'll just be an extra 50 points.
Yeah.
I had said I wish the cool thing would be is if you had to declare your drop zone at the beginning of the game, but if that guy was alive when they come in, you could move it. That'd be cool. Because then he has
make it a
value
bonus
other
on a
than
penalty.
just like,
Owen, shut up with your good ideas.
No.
No rules are final. Owen should say all his good ideas. Maybe they'll steal them.
Oh,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Shakut.
It's not printed. So anyway, Blade Ops. So this is the Neoterran Commandos. And they are Neoterra to the max. We're looking at a BS13 platform, OKCC, Pano Whip, Arm 2 BTS 3 with BS Tech Shock, Immunity Shock, -3 stealth train total. And then there's basically a boarding shotgun guy for 21 points or a attack-aware engineer.
And then the good guy.
Yeah, the guy you want for 24 points. I don't know. A boarding shotgun's no joke. But yeah, a submachine. I mean, this guy can link, right? So this guy can hang out with the bolts and count as a bolt.
Or a squallow.
Boarding shotgun's a cool.
Be a friend with a squallow.
Or be friends with a squallow with a boarding shotgun. Although the squallow can kind of defend itself with two multi-pistols.
Yeah, it's
doing
extra
okay.
attack-aware who is also an engineer right there.
That's a 24-point engineer. Attack-aware is going to go with the squallow. And Owen pointed it out. That's literally the duo there.
Yes.
Then we got the blockers.
There are plenty of choices, and that's the right one.
And that's the right one for this thing. I mean, the trick is that you're only really getting him in the squall if you take the squall for that 100 points because he's pretty expensive. But we'll talk about him when we get there.
But then all of these profiles have is it the REF is the reinforcements?
Yeah, that's the requirement. I have a suspicion that they're just going to staple this onto the other ones, and it'll be like, you know how on bolts there's like 5 million profiles because there's the mountain division and whatnot. You're just going to see any of these that are like current models, like an Aquila guard is available in this. There's going to be a new Aquila guard who has REF as a type.
Yeah, it's just like the FTO options. This is just a new code that goes like FTO, where there's the fire team option and there's going to be the ref option.
They're not going to be their own thing. They're just going to be like REF, and you can build it out of that.
Yeah. And what also means that they can make more profiles for these guys that don't go into reinforcements, that might be too powerful as reinforcements. They'll get stuck to the other factions.
I think everything who's shown up in here has been wildly good against their non-reinforcement.
So far, so good. Yeah.
Looking at you, Squallow Mark II.
Well, let's talk about this blocker, man. This cop, the attached agents to the CDCI. I read earlier what the CDCI stands for in the book. I can't remember what it stands for, but it's basically a type of cop. They just have BS attack plus
Central Department of Criminal Intelligence.
That's it. Yeah. So they're like FBI guys. They have sensor biometric visor. Oh, does it? Oh, it's at the top of the thing. Where does it say it?
Do you see the?
Oh, it's in the picture. I'm looking at the profile block. That's why I can't see it. Oh,
it's in the profile block too. It's in there.
Where?
Icon. You know, it says blockers with that star. You see how there's words around that?
No.
Put your glasses on.
Oh, the picture around the oh, I couldn't see that. No, I didn't put glasses on. Fuck off. I'm tired, man. I'm tired. I just saw a badge.
Oh, man,
He's like, that's not English. Half the time that's in Russian, man. I can't be expected to read that. So BS Tech plus 1 burst, sensor, biometric visor, and X visor. But then dude's got an ADHL, a nanopulse, and a flash pulse, and then a multi-pistol, a para weapon -6. So for 16 points, and you take him as a hacker profile too if you want. But for 16 points, this guy's like a ton of like non-lethal guns, but then he's also got a burst 3 multi-pistol, which I think is hilarious. He's a very decent like find guys out profile. New bolt.
What does the visor do?
Nothing the sensor doesn't do, I guess. Is there to maybe find an impersonation guy. I don't know why they ever give anyone those visors.
Look, another useful biovisor.
Yeah, but he didn't get the +3 to discover, which is
just weird.
Way to ruin the trend.
He gets +6 instead because he has a sensor.
And they're all the ABA ones.
Sensor is just better.
It's just better because it's +6, yeah. Well, actually, sorry, if they gave him the sensor and the +3 to discover, he'd be discovering on 22s when he was censoring, which is just funny. It's a bonus to discover.
If you're gonna throw those sensors
That's
around,
fair, yeah.
Let them have it.
I don't have it. Yeah. I found you. Then we got some pictures of the new bolts. We got a picture of the new Squallow, who I think is awesome. I like the concept board with the weapons and stuff better than I like the actual pistol, where he's He looks like RoboCop. Like he literally looks like he could just lift the visor up and Peter Weller's face would be underneath there, which I think is funny.
Why did they give this robot ass cheeks?
I don't know, but
it's weird, right?
They gave it ass cheeks, but they also gave it a completely insane profile. So why don't you go over that profile?
Yeah. So I'm gonna start with my favorite. 57 points, 1 swig. Across the top, he is a Pano tag, 6'4", BS 15, Fizz 15, Whip 12, 6'6", size 6, 3 structure points. BS attack +1 damage, remote presence, attack aware as standard. Got his ECM -6, which all DS6 don't get. Dodge 11, dodge +1, and then Gizmo Kit 13, which is crazy because
he's big. He's got big tag Gizmo Kit. Yeah.
And then he's armed with a multi-marksman rifle, which means he's good forever, and also has a +1 burst multi-pistol. So he's good everywhere forever. And he's cheaper than the Shakoosh.
No big deal.
I can't not bring him up because it's so bad. Like I brought it up later on when we talk about Maximus, but this guy is such a better comparison because he just makes him look like a fucking loser. Like John, if you're listening, I want you to come back and justify this guy's cost against that AP Spitfire Shakoosh. And why
it's going to be the fact that he's only reinforcements. I bet he's more expensive, but he's not a reinforcement. There's got to be a reinforcement discount.
There, maybe. And then the other 2 profiles, you get AP Spitfires. One of them is an NCO, and the other one gets a grenade launcher +1 damage, which is
feel really cheap.
15 grenade launcher that shows up halfway up the board with BS 15.
I'll be honest, he feels really cheap for I think the Matrix must have a discount for not being able to be there for a turn, because 57 points for that loadout, you're right, is crazy.
57 for the multi-marksman is bananas because it's also +1 damage, right? So it's damage 14 AP or shock or 2-shot DA.
Yeah,
and
it's wild.
And it's on a Pano tag. The only thing he doesn't have is a movement shtick. He doesn't have jump or climb.
No, but he's 6'4", not 4, not 6'2".
But he's not 6'2" for
he's not 6'2".
Yeah.
He's hilarious.
And he's remote presence as well, which is also just a bonus. Like there's no downside to being remote presence versus being.
Oh, there's a bonus. There's an actual bonus because you get to reroll engineering rolls with.
And you get a second level of unconscious.
And a lot of the unconscious. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So even if you screw up the engineer, you still get another shot at it.
Yeah.
And
so
if you pop your pilot out, push a button and die, you can activate your tag and get your pilot back in. Also that.
Sorry, yes. Forget about the other bonus.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
He's pretty great. And also the obvious duo with the blade up, so you can get an extra attack aware. So you can have 4 orders
and an engineer.
And an engineer. Well, and like you're looking at, I mean, it's most of your points. So if you take the multi-marksman one, it's 70, 81 points. You get 3 models, but you're still going to have all 5 orders because you have 2 attack awares and then your native orders.
What did you say? 81? So
yeah,
I can still bring a blocker with him?
Sure could. Or like a bolt.
Have pseudo 5 orders. Or I could jump him up to a NCO one and get my little blocker. And now all of a sudden I have my lieutenant order, attack aware, order, and have 6 orders in my 3-man group.
You can fit right now. You can fit a Pathfinder in there and have 6 orders because they're also attack aware right now, and also they're wild cards.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's a bunch of reasons to take that.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
He's real good.
So anyway, I think this kind of best illustrates. It's a good opening one because it best illustrates why we're excited about the profiles themselves, and also like it's cool with the reinforcements. But really, I think the key thing everyone's just excited about is the fact that these profiles are insane.
Yeah, and they get more insane until Ariadne, and then it gets insane again.
And then it's weird because it gets expensive, good, insane, and then it gets cheap, good, insane. Like it's like a roller coaster. There's a lot of
except for this guy who is both worlds.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Squallow is definitely cheap and also good.
Yeah, like honestly, I'm dollars to donuts. There's something in their points matrix for the reinforcements, like that ref tag. It's making them cheaper because I bet that when we see them in.
But the bolt guy, he's not too far off. Like that blade with 1 wound, no wounding cap, no extra wound, nothing like that for 20-ish points. His matrix makes sense to me. Like I don't see a huge discount on a 21.
I think if you compare him, to a Locust, the Locust is more expensive. Not the Locust. What's the other min -3 one in Pano? if you compare him to another min -3, like he has no infiltrator like that. I think if you compare him to another guy, he's relatively cheap. I think 21 points. You compare him to maybe a bag Marie almost. I think he's relatively cheap. Although they
guess
have
the
MSV.
locusts are min 6 with infiltration and stealth.
Yeah, I'm thinking more
So
like a
there's
bag
not a
Marie
good
who have
one.
min -3. Relatively the same armor, relatively the same BS. They're probably more expensive because they have MSV1 typically baked in.
The bottom bag Marie is 22 points.
Yeah,
With a
with
combi
MSV1.
rifle, light shotgun, and MSV1, and number 2. He's slightly worse BS. He has a 12 instead
12?
of 13.
Yeah.
But like they're both armor 2. Like I think this guy is not far off the curve. Like
Yeah, maybe.
and
I mean, it's
and
going
that
to be
makes
more
me,
apparent at the lower end than the higher end, right? The higher end, you're going
Right.
to see a bigger discount.
And so that's where I go. Like I'm not as confident that this is like this broke. It was more of a like,
Yeah, maybe.
Is this that power creep? Like
Maybe. Well, we'll see who's next.
Yeah.
I mean, they're using the same matrix for everything. They're very picky with their point metrics. So I don't know how that works with power creep. So who was next? Was it?
It's Yujing next.
Yujing.
It
Right.
goes across the top.
It
Like,
does
is literally
okay, yeah.
like if you just look at like it'll go Yujing, then Ariadne, then
That's
Nock,
right.
then-
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, I don't know if there's a Nomad one. I think Nomad and Combined both got skipped.
Oh, maybe so. That's ones we're
And
missing
then
is Nomad.
we're gonna come back because we do have Aleph and Tohaa.
Mhm.
We definitely don't have Combined because that was the one I was the most interested in.
Yeah, I know, and then we haven't seen
It's
yet.
going to be bugs.
Yeah, we're missing that
Yeah.
one. We'll do that one next week. All right, so dieback force for the Yujing. It's got Sulyongs, which are new naval operations group, the Jujaks, the Hwarang Corps, the Haitai, the Salsa Warriors, the Dobakai Cyber Team, and then you get Yao Kongs, Weibings, Sunbays, the Rishi, the Yao Zhaos, Sora Kwang, Chief Chungli Zhang, and then Bishi. And then you can get a core Harrison duo of a Jujak fire team with a Hwarang in it.
I would point out the Hwarang original posted one is incorrect.
Oh, is it?
I have an updated one that's in there. Basically, I'll just read it off real quick.
Yeah, I'll let you do it. I'll let you do it when we get there. Yeah. Core Harrison duo for Hwarangs, Salsas, Heitais, and Bishi, and the wild cards are the Sulyong, the Weibing, the Sanbei, the Cyber Team, Chief Zhang, and then Sora Quan. So, what was the first part? Why don't you just start with that profile then?
Yeah, the Hwarang. I don't recall what they are in the original posting that they made, but what they actually are, because they made a post on the forum about it. They're 6'2", CC 22, martial arts 3, BS 12, Phys 13, Whip 13, Arm 3, BTS 3, 2 wounds, size 2, courage, dodge +2, shock immune, stealth.
Because they're full heavy infantry.
They're full heavy infantry. They're 22 to 28 points. I think the profiles are the same. Light shotgun.
Yeah, I think
shotgun,
the actual weapon profiles and stuff are the same. It was just the stat line they screwed up, I think. Because they have
think that's
frenzy,
the
martial arts 3, courage, dodge +2, mean shock and stealth, and then they're it was
shotgun,
the fact that they were
light shotgun, Panzerfaust, combi rifle +2 damage, SMG, and they all have explosive close combat weapons.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, combi rifle +2 damage is such a neat gun. I think that's so neat because it's not quite a Mark 12. It's like it's a 6 inches less range Mark 12, which I think is just weird.
I show up on the midline with 6'2"
Mark 12
and
good at
explosive
0 to
close
8?
combat weapon.
The Mark 12 is not actually. It's like a Spitfire range, so it's like bad. It's 0 to 8, and then up to 24. It's +3.
Well, there you go.
It's just a weird.
It's like an Ajax gun.
Damage. It's like an Ajax gun, yeah. What do you think about these guys?
I show up on the midway board with a light shotgun, explosive close combat weapon, and walk 6 and kill you.
They feel like Teutonics. Yeah, they feel like cheap Teutonic knights. They feel like Cenobites and Nomads. Tankos and Teutonics. Yeah.
Wow.
I think
Cenobites are still off the curve because fucking min 6.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
21 points for them, but they don't have
Real
explosive.
good.
Explosive close combat weapons, no joke.
It's no joke. Yeah. It's
crit on,
like a
crit on 15s and you're going to take 4 armor saves is bad.
Good on a pile of missions too, like Mind Wipe or any of the ones we have to get across the board all of a sudden and go beat up a box basically that it's anti-material because it's like they're so cheap and they'll probably get there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if Yujing needed more heavy infantry, but they're sure getting it.
Yeah.
It's happening. Tell me about the Salsa Warriors.
Mim 6,
Yeah.
light infantry stat line, except for good CC.
Also
'cause
martial arts
Yujing.
3, yeah.
Yeah.
Dodge on 16s.
Yep. Dodge on 16 with Mim 6. So kind of hard to shoot at. These guys like Whip 13, Forward Observer, or Hacker shows up halfway, and he's very hard to dislodge because he can suppress with his SMG. Like,
Yeah. And also can get with that dodge on 16s, can like active turn dodge into melee. Right, like dodge it into that line of sight, then get into melee. He's actually, I think,
dodge plus 2 inches, right? So
yeah, which means he's gonna walk 4 and then dodge 4, right? So there's a good chance this guy's gonna make it into melee if he wants to.
I hate their hats.
I don't know. We haven't seen the miniatures yet. I like their hats. I like that whole Tenko. I like the Raidens from whatchamacallit, from yeah. You Owen and I are both the same way. We both like the Big Trouble in Little Chinatown look on the Raidens. I could use
I
more
like
Raidens.
the Oyuroi with the big friggin' antennas on top too.
So great.
It just takes it even further.
Yeah, just to the next level. It's very cool. I like these guys. I think they're cool. I like the fact that they're relatively cheap too. Like everything in the Yujing list feels, I don't know, man. It still feels for min -6 boarding shotgun or hacker, like 26, 25 points for a force over a hacker at like min -6 with like mines and SMGs, DA close combos. This feels cheap.
Yeah.
Like, I guess they're kind of papery with arm 1, but min -6 and all the dodge skills.
This actually checks out as a infiltrating Mim 6 guy. Like,
I guess
without infiltration, he's playing exactly the same role as the
he's starting up.
What are they called? The Nadirs in Haqqislam, who are 26 point forward observer, min -6 forward deployment. Right? Like they're just the same guy, and this is just their version. Only he got CC, and those guys got a shotgun or a rifle rather. Like the Shuje, I think, is almost identical. So,
well.
There you
then
go.
we got the Naval Operations Group, the Suliang, the all MC, the Bag Maries of Yujing. They've all got NCO, Total Train, and MSV1, which is a very cool profile. BS12, Arm BTS3, Whip 13, and then they're stacked with guns: Shock Marksman, Red Fury, Boarding Shotgun +1, Burst Forward Observer with Flash Pulse, Shock Mines, and D charges.
I like that.
And a paramedic with SMG and medkit. Yeah, man, there's some no joke profiles here, and they're 20. The top end one's the Red Fury at 30 points, but I think the other 3 are way attractive. 28 points for the Shock Marksman. That Boarding Shotgun's 24 points. And then the SMG medkit one's 23.
He's got a unique mind, though. He's got a Shikak mind.
He does have a Shikak mind. Yeah. These profiles feel like they were maybe a little rushed.
It's shocking.
Shocking, yeah. I like this guy a lot. I think he's neat. He's AVA 4. I think the fact that there's MSV stuck to these guys, and also they're linkable, right?
And the wild card, so anybody.
Yeah, they can go anywhere. Like, and you're probably taking Harris because it's only going to be a 5-man team typically for these reinforcement blocks. Having them, I think, as a wild card, one of these Harrises is cool.
I think it's neat that the Zizek fire team doesn't actually make it to 5 without wild cards.
Have we not seen the high tie unit? There's no profile for it, is there? Like, there's stuff referenced here that we haven't seen the new profiles for, because I don't think the high tie unit exists yet. Yeah.
I don't think we've seen the Dokube.
No.
The robot with the Billy bat.
Yeah, I love that guy too. Yeah, the
He's
Yujing
also
version
armed with a combi rifle pitcher.
And there's a number for a Mark 12 that doesn't seem to have it. So the Dakabai Cyber team, who's like the Yujing version of Chappie, and then also
they look sick. I love them.
They're very cool looking.
I like
and
that
also
he's
the
like
high ties. We haven't seen the profiles for yet.
Guys, we found a Aleph's robot. We found a Dakini. How do we make him not look like a Dakini? Strap a fin on him.
Give him wings.
Yeah, he looks totally different now.
No one knows what Dakini looks like. We found some beta troopers. What do? Give him wings. It'll be fine.
Guys, I found this Subaru. I put a fin on it. It's mine.
Yeah, it's fine now. Now it's a Honda.
Yujing made this. We didn't steal it.
Sorry, yeah, that's right. It's totally ours.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about those profiles. I think they're neat. I'm excited to see the stuff that's coming too. I don't know when we'll get this as a. I bet we don't see this as an army update until after Interplanetary. They won't want to add these new profiles until after the year ends.
That's the general consensus out there right now.
Yeah, so we're just getting these spoilers for now, which is cool. What was after this? Was Aleph? No,
No,
Ariadne.
next is Ariadne, the
The Equipe
Merovingians.
Argent. And they're bringing people back. The Paracommandos, the Lugaroos, the Bricards, the Moblots, and then new units, the Apaches. There's also Chasseurs, 112s, Beast Hunters, which I'm excited to see in here because maybe we get an actual Beast Hunter miniature. War Drivers, Jack Barant, Wolfgang, and Equipe Mirage 5. You get a Core Harris duo of Lugaroos. You get a Core Harris duo of Bricards. Although they're capped at 4, so you'd have to stick a wild card in there. But you can have Moblots, Apaches, 112s, Bront, and Wolfgang. Bront and Wolfgang both count as Bricards, and Apaches and Wolfgang count as Lugaroos. Which makes sense because
solid 5-man Lugaroo, rifle, shotgun, shotgun. Go get them, boys. Sniper rifle. Yeah. There you go.
Seeing new Moblots, seeing just a modern stat line for these makes me really happy, right? Because they've got they had very stripped down early stat lines because they hadn't been updated in forever. But Moblots have a baller stat line. BS 13, Fizz 12, Whip 13, Arm BTS 3, their BS attack shock baked in, mid -3, shock immune. They're all tack aware. The entire unit's tack aware. And they have terrain jungle. That is a bananas. And then they've got HMGs, +1 damage Spitfires, AP rifles that are engineers, and then paramedic supporting shotguns. And the engineer has an EM mine. Now they're expensive. They're all 30+ points, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But boy,
I think these guys suck.
Why is that?
1 wound arm 3 with MIM 3. That's it for 35 points potentially.
I mean, that's about as good as it gets in your reactive, man. That's Spetnaz stats.
They're maybe back in the day, but there's a lot of Cosmoflot stuff that's wildly
not that much.
Cosmos soldats,
but they're super expensive. I'm just saying these guys fall into the mid-range hitter range where everything's just solid about them.
So like a Volkalak,
they're great basically points. Yeah,
he's basically the same as this guy, but he gets the 2 wounds, also total immunity, also natural born warrior, also super jump. He didn't get tack aware. He got a T2 rifle +1 damage.
It's no APs, but T2 rifle is great until he fights up with armor, right? I'm just saying that horses for courses, these guys are still cheaper. They have mod stacking, which I like to just win fights versus survive fights. And yeah, I think they're solid.
Wait till we get to the wall of chain and template weapons that are coming further down this
list.
That's
true. Yeah,
and then you're going to go I'd rather survive. It's those guys don't care.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. The Lugaroos are also real good because they are riddled in viral. And they've got X visors and courage. Yeah. BS 12, Arm 2. I think you like these guys because they're 10 points cheaper and they have viral rifles. But Lugaroos are great. Courage, X visor. They just really added the courage, I think, compared to the other ones. But 21 points for a viral rifle is legit. And then you can get a boarding shotgun ADHL for 19, a viral rifle grenade launcher for 25, and a viral sniper rifle for 21, or a regular sniper rifle, which I don't think you'd ever take because you're going to go for the viral. Great.
Actually didn't change anything other than giving them the viral sniper.
Really? They had courage before?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. Their stats are identical. They have done nothing to them.
Interesting.
Other than give them the viral sniper.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that the viral sniper.
Also, that also secures my perspective that the reinforcement thing is not modifying their points.
Yeah, no, that would
all the same.
Is the points value the same? Then that checks.
21, 19, cool. 25, 20, and the Swix are all the same. And then obviously the sniper's not listed in the current
crazy
thing. Yep.
Well, and then we're looking at the next one.
In price.
The Mobots, well, they would have because they got a bunch of gear and skills.
Yes.
Yeah, which makes sense why they got to glow up.
Actually, sorry, there were Mimetism 3 once before.
Yeah, there were Mimetism ones, but they also have
cheaper.
No, but they had the other
rifles.
stuff. They had
and BS attack shock.
They didn't have all these heavy weapons. They didn't have a +1 damage Spitfire or any of that stuff. They just had the AP rifle profile.
They had the Sapper HMG, the AP rifle. They weren't all biggest thing.
They were all tack aware.
Tack aware is the biggest one.
Yeah.
That is, in my opinion, the huge thing. But they used to be 23 points. So
they had BS attack shock.
Yep.
Huh, interesting.
AP rifle, light shotgun, BS attack shock. But again, mimetism and tack aware, it cost you 12 points.
I mean, maybe, yeah. An extra order is pretty good baked in, man.
Yep.
And so is mimetism. All right, let's look at Apaches. So these guys are new, so there's nothing to compare them
Also,
to.
their stats are wrong.
Okay, so what are their stats supposed to be?
6'2",
Okay.
CC 22, BS 11, Fizz 13, Whip 12, 1 armor, 1 movement size 2.
Got it. Okay, so slight difference here.
Faster-ish.
Yeah, they're more close combat. And then they got Frenzy, CC attack +1 damage, which puts them into what, a 14?
Their CC attack with that is now 13.
Goes 13 base, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then Courage, dodge +1 inch, Natural Born Warrior, Shock Immune, no wound, dad cap, and Super Jump baked in.
Yeah, the Natural Born Warrior makes a lot more sense with CC 22 instead of CC 16.
Definitely. Yeah, now you can see this. Some of this is wrong. They range from 16 to 18 points, and my God, they have 2 kind of loadouts. There's rifle chain colt or chain rifle grenades, or light shotgun, and then three profiles. But then they've either all got +1 burst to their guns. It's like a burst 3 light shotgun, a burst 2 chain rifle. I think grenades would also be burst 2. I'm pretty sure. Or burst 4 rifle. And then the other way is you can take them all with berserk, and they lose their burst bonus for the rifle chain colt, but they gain
super jump
berserk.
8 movement berserk with
a +1 burst close combat weapon, because all their AP close combat weapons are
and
burst
a
2.
no wounding cap guy with shotgun.
Yeah. It's too bad it's not a DA close combat weapon, but it's still pretty good.
It's 2 dice is better than DA, 100%.
And also it could just be
2
DA
dice
if you
and
crit,
DA.
because if you 2 dice and go over 20, you crit, right? Because they're what, 21, 22?
22.
22, yeah. So you crit on 18s,
And
which
it's
with 2 dice you might just get it.
POW 14 AP.
Which is
I mean, it's good. I'm not saying
You'll
it's not
fight
bad.
people. Yeah.
and berserk means you don't miss, right? So you just go in and fight.
And if you fight anyone with an AP or regular close combat weapon, you can't die. Or it's like they have to crit you and you have to fail both, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you have no wounding cap and immunity shock.
I would just
These
take
guys-
5 of these guys.
You can only bring 2. They're AVA 2.
Oh, they're only 2, so it said 5 on the wrong one I'm looking at. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Only
was
bring
like,
2.
yep.
Well, I mean, this is my perspective on the mob lots too, right? Where the hell is that mob? He's fighting for his life already, and we're not because
well, that's pretty cheap. I'm saying to get the 100 points and 5 models, you're probably getting everybody you want in this, because they're not that expensive.
Yeah, the Apaches for sure. They should be AV5. Go crazy, but no, they're only
amazing.
2.
Yeah, only 2.
Only 2. They count as Luke Guru though.
They do
for link bonuses.
Yeah, for
so
the Guru bonus.
If you wanna get your 3 viral rifles that have a BS of 15 to start,
they're
pretty
amazing.
cool.
Yeah. We didn't get to see any new profiles for them though. Other than that, that was it. I mean, the new profiles for that are basically just old profiles anyway.
Yeah, with the standout being the Apaches, who I think are solid. I'd like to see these guys just in general. I think they're cool.
Yeah, me too. I think they're just a neat,
please stop making this only bring dogs.
Yeah, this is a warband profile.
Isn't a
Yeah,
dog.
exactly. Yeah, give us a warband profile. It's different, neat. Then we've got a bajillion Aleph units that are new, but we only get to see a couple of them.
Haqqislam is next.
Oh, it's Hawk next. Sorry, I scrolled
Going across the top.
I can't see Haqqislam in the pin threads. That's the problem. They're not here.
Pinned is
you do it then. You go through it.
Oh, here, I'll just add a pin. ... Pin. Oh yeah, pin it.
There you go.
Hack.
The Haqqislam, the Darius, that's Tohaa. The Action Force, the Melek Action Force.
Reaction.
So a reaction force. So some of our favorite classics are back. Havses, hopefully getting new sculpts. Odalisks, Hakims are new, I think.
No, they're not new.
They're not new. Oh,
they're
okay. Are they the jump
troops?
troops? The dump doctors. That's right. Corsans are new though. The guard courses the gate.
Yes.
Janza bands, sec bands, hopefully coming back with new profiles because they've been hard to get. Bertux are new, and then Azrael, Al Hawaz, Rafiqs, Nazmats, Leela, and Rahman Rouhani. You get a Core Harris duo of sec bands, Odalisks, Hakims, Corsans, and Al Hawaz. Al Hawaz being in a fire team is interesting. Sec bands up to 4, and you have to have at least 1. The other ones you can all have 2 of. Azrael and Al Hawaz, which are interesting, duoed. And then wild carding Havzas, Bertux, Janzvans, Rafiqs, Leela, and Rahman Rouhani.
Weirdly, there's a required minimum wild card.
I'm sure.
Never seen that one.
I'm sure for the house, because that's probably just a complete typo. I don't trust any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Odalisque glow up. Do you want to pull up the old one because you noticed if things had changed? I didn't notice too much different here. Is it no one? They had no Wind Cap before, didn't they? And 6 cents. I think they had all
Nano
this stuff.
Pulsar Spitfire got 1 additional burst and
Okay.
1 additional point cost.
That's it, eh?
They paid 1 point for that Nano Pulsar, and that is it.
Yeah, I didn't really see anything different. So Odalisque are kind of still the same.
The submachine gun. Oh no,
They're only 360 visor.
22. Yeah, they got the +1 nano burst, nano pulsar on each of them, and they all went up 1 point to get that.
That's it. So they always got extra nano pulsar shots. So slightly more dangerous than template trading.
Yeah, for 1 point.
Right.
Otherwise,
Cool.
shock immune, no wounding cap, courage, CC. Oh, they put the 360 visor on their name, like in their skills, rather than on their profiles, because you can't bring the 6 cents ones.
Oh, got
so
it.
There you go.
Give them like a equipment shuffle, basically, but mostly the same.
Yeah.
The Burtuk, the Aero Naval Engineering Regiment. Any changes to these guys, or is this?
He's
does this
new.
seem like it's
He's a
okay?
brand new boy.
No. I mean, like, was any of this wrong that you found out?
Not that I found out.
Okay.
He seems to be what he is,
Legit,
which
got
is amazing.
He's pretty great. Move 4/4. So these guys are in the 27 to 31 point range.
Hey, Mob,
they
you
are
fucking loser.
Yeah.
Look at me.
they are BS 12, Fizz 12 with 14, Arm 3 BTS 6, a wound size 2. You got 2 of these guys. They are engineers. They got deactivators and gizmo kits, immunity shock, immunity continuous damage. So they got that sweet patcher skill. Mid -3, no wounding caps. They're kind of fake heavy infantry, and then terrain 0G and religious. And they are stacked with like close range and disposable guns. So you've got like 4
and also
profiles.
long range guns, because they can have light rockets too.
The light rocket is not that long range because it drops off at 16. I'm pretty sure.
I guess. I guess I'm measuring all of these guys with we start on the halfway point, right?
Yeah.
So like
yeah. The Panzerfaust is cool though. AP mines, decharges, boarding shotgun, Panzerfaust, submachine gun, light rocket +1 damage, which is pretty cool, and then decharges.
Dr.
I like that
Emarat
profile.
+1 burst is my favorite.
yeah.
Yeah.
Emarat +1 burst is crazy with the submachine gun, AP mines, and decharges.
They're a wild card, so you get 3 bursts, either heavy flamethrower.
Sure
or
do.
Emarat.
Yeah. Heavy flamethrower and Emarat with +1 burst are, I think, my favorite ones because you're also immune to fire, which I think is neat. And then
I mean, the continuous damage.
And if he goes for a guy who has a 1-shot gun, he can't die in the trade unless they crit him, because he can't burn to death and he's immune to shock.
Yeah,
so he can go, here's you're like, I have a combi rifle. It's like, okay, I walk out on you. 3 Emerats.
In Dr. Good the faction.
You want to shoot me? Because I'll get over it.
Yeah, the 27. It's funny because the cheapest profiles too are the kind of the best ones. The SMG Emarat or SMG Heavy Flamethrower, I think, are the coolest profiles.
And Mim 3 Arm 3.
That's what I mean.
Puts him at -6/6 for
Great.
shooting at. Great. And he's a whip 14 inch. He's hilariously good. He's hilariously good. And then he's got his competition, who is equally amazing.
The Corsair.
Yeah.
What if Bashi bazooks were regular and also amazing?
And 2 Bashi bazooks into 1 person. That's the third gun.
That's right. Yeah. So move 6/2, CC 21, BS 11, Fizz 13, Whip 13, 1 arm, 3 BTS, 1 wound size 2. You got 2 of these guys, but they are CC attack -3, which means they can't be countered with Natural Born Warrior. Terrain 0G, courage, dodge +2 inches, natural born warrior, climbing +. So they go everywhere, get everywhere, fight in close combat. And then they have a chain rifle +2 burst for 14 points with a shock CC weapon. What the fuck?
Hey, Apache, want to come here? I'm going to break your kneecap.
Burst 3 chain rifle.
Linkable.
What in the actual... I know!
Wait, it's linkable
burst
too?
4 chain rifle.
They link with the sec bands. You can bring 2.
4 chain rifle. For 17 points, you can also have a +1 damage light shotgun, which is but for 19 points, if you wanted to throw 3 grenades at once, you sure could.
He eats grenades on 10s.
I know he does. He's got grenades +1 burst, which means he can hum for 19 points 3 grenades out of a Harris, which I think is hilarious. Yeah, this guy makes me laugh and sad at the same time, because I know Owen's going to take 2 of them every single game he can.
Yeah, unless they change, like what 14-point guy is competing with this guy
besides Diggers?
I'll take this guy against Diggers. What are you
Yeah,
gonna do,
probably.
Digger? You gonna shoot me? We'll trade lives.
That's
You take
right,
3,
yeah.
I take 2. Let's see who lives.
In the army,
Oh,
they can't take
neither
2
of us.
diggers. They take 2 Corsairs instead because they're
Right.
basically just other diggers.
Only they're diggers that are crazy fast.
Yeah, they're fast diggers. Well, unless the diggers find rollerblades, which sometimes they do.
Yeah,
But yeah,
with
no,
the
I think
climbing
these guys
plus,
are
right?
great. These guys are great. These guys are a reliable fight like warbandy, but not warbandy because they're regular. Fight
Still getting
piece.
cover.
They're cheap enough you can piece trade. They have crazy gear. They're just an interesting profile. Like I've never seen a profile quite like this.
Well,
And
they're
they
also
can,
like light infantry, so it's like
Yeah,
there's
can't
no,
hack
like-
them.
Yeah,
you could spotlight them, but they don't care. They're just here to shoot 4 chain rifles at you because they're linked with the second.
They're linked with somebody else with another
one sec
Corsair.
band, and then a Corsair. I mean,
That's
that was
right.
the thing I sent you when I was like, here's the first thing I brought, and it's an Azrael, a sec band, and 2 of these guys. And the sec band just has both of them on leashes, like Batman and his 2 Robins. And it's like, go.
That's the bat that laughs, by the way. That's not actually that's not actually Batman. That's the Joker when the Joker becomes Batman. But yes.
Yep.
That's
And he
tremendous.
whips them over rooftops as they climbing plus and then
It's
chain
true.
rifle. And the thing is, if they're starting on the halfway point, 1 order with movement 6 and climbing plus means you're shooting their deployment with 4 chain rifles.
Which is
Did
wild.
you have a link or a TR bot or anything that wants to stand and fight? Well, nothing in the game wants to eat 4 chain rifles.
What I think is
12 does this
hilarious
too.
is you could even you could coordinate these guys and the link would the front guy would still have a burst 2 chain rifle. So funny.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, Haqqislam, you're great. The reinforcement box is cool too because you get the 2 sec bands that are going to be new. A Havza, the Burkett, the Coruscant, and the Al Hawa. So you're getting some new stuff. Maybe
Yeah,
some.
but
old
look at how
models
cool
mixed
the
in there.
reinforcement blister is.
Is it a ... I can't wait for that ... It's
It could be
great.
anything. It
It
could
could
even
be
be a
anything,
load.
even a blister. It could even be a blister.
Maybe it'll be a fucking shitkush.
All right, so my favorite thing is that we got the Tohaa. We got no profiles for Tohaa though, so we'll do them last. I will do them now, and we'll end on Aleph.
about-
Let's just end on Aleph.
Also, there's O12, which I forgot about.
No, you didn't pin them either. Fuck off! Come on, pin
No, I
these
pinned
guys,
them.
man.
They're there. It's
They're
called
not here.
Gladius Team coming in hot.
I don't see the pin. I'm looking at all your pins, and I don't see them.
It's between the Aleph one and the
Not a picture.
Ariana. It's called Gladius Team coming in hot.
Oh, you didn't pin that. You pinned the post. You didn't pin the pictures. It's okay. I
Yeah.
found it.
There.
Yes.
Fuck you.
So O12. Armored presence unit jackbots. Just talking about jackbots. Ment agents who are also new. The polyvalent security unit Vidok, which I'm kind of neat. Bronzes, Psychodroids, Nightshades who are new, Sarkos, Dakinis, Divas, Okos, Udbots, and Cuervo. And then Casanova are part of the Gladius team.
They're also Jack Boots.
I like that. Casanova and Cuervo can link. As
Sure
well, right?
can, which is
So it's like,
bizarre.
ooh, maybe they'll be fun to bring.
Well, I mean, I'm betting because like Cuervo's going to lose his AD options, right? So like, and Casanova loses advanced deployment options. So these will be separate profiles, probably on their profile. So when we see them with their final profiles, they'll probably have like a slightly different stat line because they'll lose some skills in order to be linkable, which I think is cool though, because I have both those models painted, and I'd be excited to use them as a linkable model, especially
Ready
like Cuervo. He's so good.
Are you ready for another model to come out and tap dance on the moblots? Because it's coming.
Okay. All right, so jack boots, you can have 4 of them. You get core horse duo of jack boots. The Vidok counts as a jack boot. You can have 2 of them. Ments don't count as anything, but you can have 2, and a bronze can go in there as well. And the bronze fire team for Harrison duo is bronzes, Vidoks, who count as bronzes, Psychodroids, who count as bronzes, which doesn't make any sense because it's a Harris. You don't care. And then Ments. And then finally, the wild cards are the Oko, the Cuervo, and the Casanova. Let's talk about the jack boots.
So what's really funny is that the jackboot, there's like a helmet on, and then there's a miniature with a helmet off, and it gives him with a heavy machine gun. And you go to his profiles, there's no heavy machine gun.
I don't think that's a heavy machine gun, to be honest with you. That
I
doesn't
bet you
look.
it bottom left.
There's a trick to it. Reading. Gotcha again.
It's a Spitfire, isn't it?
No. Look at the bottom left of the picture.
Jack boots, heavy machine gun. Ojal team values. What?
So
Where?
do you think that's a Spitfire when it says it's a heavy machine gun?
Yes, I think it's the Spitfire profile on here, maybe instead of being a heavy machine gun.
So
Because the jackboots have a Spitfire profile, is what I'm
Just
saying.
it says heavy machine gun on the picture.
Agreed.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving
Sure.
on.
I don't know. Anyway, there's something's
Right
missing.
over.
Something's wrong somewhere. I get it. They are one. Okay, so they're 1 wound total immunity. Arm BTS3, BS12, move 4/4, relatively cheap 20-ish points. Everything models. There's an NCO with maybe a heavy machine gun, maybe a Spitfire, and light riot stopper. Then there's an SMG +1 damage with light riot stopper and medkit, paramedic. A +1 damage, a combi rifle forward observer, light riot stopper, and a flash pulse. An engineer with an SMG +1 damage, light riot stopper decharges and gizmo kit, and then a heavy rocket light shotgun. What do you think about these, Dan? A weird Arm 3 BTS3 total immune model.
Yeah, like the Arm 3 total immunity makes them somewhat durable, but
Arm 6 can't be modified.
like with 1 wound, it's like I think they're pretty good for their points. And like just having the light riot stoppers everywhere is always just a fun thing of like if someone think heavy tries to trade against you, you're like, nah, I stick you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something you don't want to go against ever. If you're like a high value model trying to clear all the chaff, and this guy is sitting around the corner, you're like, I don't want to go around that corner. Like I just don't. I just need something else to trade for me. And so I love the riot stoppers for that reason. But yeah, I mean BS12, I think it's got some potential. We'll see.
They're neat. They kind of skew against explosive things, right? Like missile launchers and stuff. Or they won't get that Arm 6, only get Arm 3 against the blast templates. But like, yeah, I don't know. They just seem weirdly placed to me. They have.
You can get them as a core bonus, right? And so when you look at them as like a core bonus,
they seem too expensive to get a core bonus with, though. That's my thing. I feel like a Harris with like the paramedic backing up somebody with decent fizz, like a bronze, maybe.
I mean, the real Harris is 2 of them with a ment agent.
Yeah. And let's talk about that.
The downside being that you can't get to 5 in 100 points. It's 101 points. Unless you well, sorry, that's not accurate. That's if you wanted all 3 specialists. You could bring 2 FOs or 2 paramedics, and then you could have 5 with 2
and have a full core. Yeah.
Which I think is completely viable because like you push these guys to BS15 and it's like, yeah, let's go. Like 6 cents BS15. I'm immune to your weapon types. Let's do this. Yeah, for 100.
They'll punch above their weight class. Is what'll happen because of that total immunity then.
And like,
if anyone comes close,
these guys in the current rules, as we know, these guys are coming in hot as a 5-man team. Boom, and they just walk across and kill everything.
Yeah, teamed up with Ments, who are amazing.
Ments are real good. So before you had to pay 20 points for a chain of command model. Now you only have to pay 15 points for a Ment. They are basically like a Kappa stat line. 4/4, CC 17. I think CC is a bit higher, but BS 12, Fizz 10, Whip 13, 1 arm, 3 BTS, 1 wound. And then chain of command built in, stealth built in, biometric visor built in. Light shotgun, pistol, para -3 CC weapon, 15 points. So where Cho is 20, this one's 15.
Yeah, but then there's the second profile. It's like the first one, but better in every
heavy riot stopper +2 damage or +2 burst, sorry.
Yeah.
With an assault pistol, which I think is great. That is probably the one you take,
100% that's the one you take.
I take 2.
And then if you want to die from a killer hacker, you take the hacker one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take 2 of the heavy riot stopper ones for sure.
Yeah, 2 of those with my 3 jackboots as my 100 points. And you just drop in and you're like,
let's get sticky.
Hey, I landed directly beside you. Here are my 4 heavy riot stoppers. You better dodge.
Or here's my 5 assault pistol shots, or let's say 4 assault pistol shots.
Well, I mean, if you're going to shoot him, the SMG +1 damage with his 4 shots and AP and TI.
Also true. Yeah, also true. They're a neat profile. I think that's it for the spoiler 12 profiles. I got 2 of them.
Then we get into
that's right. There's the Nightshades and the Vidoc as well. Yeah. Just scrolling down. Nightshades, you've got another no count marker piece, but you get another mid-6 piece, which is cool. And weirdly, you get a CC piece, sort of. You get CC 22, BS 12, Fizz 12, Whip 13, Arm 2. Get 2 of these guys, 1 wound. Martial Arts 3, Courage, mid -6, Stealth, Super Jump, and Train total. You got two sort of core profiles. They're all between 24 and 28 points. You get a boarding shotgun mines one with pistol, shock CC weapon, paralyzed 6 CC weapon, or you get SMG drop bearers decharges, which can also be a hacker. Two separate profiles with the same melee weapons. What do you think about these guys?
Completely different direction.
I know, it's weird.
They're very cool. I like them a lot.
I like the
24 point guy.
one.
Yeah.
SMG drop bearers, being able to like corner shoot drop bearers with -6 and you start halfway up the table is crazy. Because you throw out a drop bear with that Fizz 12, throw a drop bear on a 15 around a corner, and then walk around the corner with your SMG at -6 and just go like, surprise!
Or just
this is someone you never ever want to be in close combat with.
Yeah.
He's got like he's got martial arts level 3 and para -6.
So -9, just starting off, unless you're natural born warrior. Then you're only -6.
Yeah.
Like his any CC 22. So it's just like
and the fact that he can start halfway up the board later. So he could, if you move up and you take like the high ground because you know drop troops are coming, he just walks past you because he has stealth and then jumps up behind you and hits you with the billy bat. Like, this is pretty cool.
This is pretty great.
Or throws a bear at you.
It's just, well, I think just the bear goes around the corner, just as adds insult to injury.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you
got
that.
It doesn't care about the para CC. I mean, it doesn't paralyze him, but it makes it so you can't hit him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta dodge. Make the dodge happen. And then Vidox.
I like the Vidox sculpt. Just chill it.
He's a weird profile. He doesn't know who he wants to be. He's CC 16, BS 13, Fizz 10 whip 13, 1 arm, 3 BTS, 1 wound, size 2, min -3 stealth NCO terrain total, and then he's got 2 boarding shotgun profiles, one of which is a doctor for 19 or 23 points, and then a MSV1 multi marksman rifle for 25 points.
You know what he wants to be? He counts as a jackboot in the jackboot unit and has built-in NCO.
Yeah.
No, he wants to be a Psychop.
You're right. He feels like he wants to be an Epsilon.
No. So the Psychop is min -3 with the multi-spectre level visor with the multi-marksman rifle at 25 points.
So he's literally just a Psychop.
But you lost specialist
it's
for NCO.
So you get NCO instead of the specialist or the specialist operative. Yeah. And you also get a nanopulsar +1 black burst. And so the Psychop is probably a little better, except for the fact that you get NCO.
And Link. With NCO. Because like that's the real power, is it puts your lieutenant order into your Link.
Into a fire team, yeah. It makes the fire team accessible.
But I 100%. I don't know why, other than that one thing. If you really, really wanted to, like, and again, it's weird because it's 012, who, like, with the Ments existing, like, Hector. Spring Hector.
Hector now has a 15-point chain of command, buddy.
Right. Who's solid. Like,
dude,
she can go do stuff, dude.
Hector only works in Starmada.
Yeah, he doesn't work for regular 12.
Then you bring an Alpha.
But what if you don't want to bring an Alpha?
Yeah.
You're afraid of big murder.
What if you don't want to speak in absolutes like Owen does?
I don't have to worry about that because I have Ments agents.
I just feel like the Vidoc
also,
is
Hector is in vanilla, you loser.
No.
Is he?
No.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
But he's not worth bringing because you can't.
Good job, Dan. So
he's not linkable, so he's dead to me.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's just weird that the Vidoc is so close to the Psychop. I guess is the only observation I was going to make.
Yep.
He's paying a lot. Psychop has a lot going for him with a lot of extra cool things. Like they all have heavy pistols.
This guy's a weirdly expensive doctor. If you want a weirdly expensive doctor.
Yeah, no. With Whip 13, no.
I just take a beta trooper. For that price, I take a beta trooper.
I don't get out of bed for Whip 17 or less.
Yeah. Owen's spoiled.
Like the stealth NCO terrain total, I think it might have a place, but right now I'm just thinking Psychop just fits a little bit better.
Yeah. And he's already there.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe in the reinforcement spectrum, it gives you a doctor that can go with the fire team, or it gives you a MSV1 go with the fire team, which is cool. Right. Inside that little like bottle of the reinforcement, it's cool. We're looking at this kind of broader because we're kind of assuming that the reinforcements is going to be kind of a not that
you
often played.
You get 2
format.
of them in the reinforcements box, so
They better be good.
you get 3 jackboots and 2 vidocs, and then 1 men. I just want 2 men. Why did you have to give me just 1?
Okay. Well, your second, you can just use
We made it
as
to
your other meant, right? Because it got sticky guns. Let's do Tohaa first, and we'll end on Aleph, because Aleph's one of the big premier things here. So talking about that Tohaa. Tohaa's got something, which I'm excited about. They got their Sakiel, Raziel boarding team, Kauri Sentinels, Coastwheel Assault Pioneers, Ektros Regiment, Drow Saboteurs, Agao units, Chaxes, Long Arms Auxiliaries and Servants, Nima and Hatail Ilis Kisan. And they get a Harris duo of Sakiels, Ektros, Coastwheels, and Nima, with wild cards for Alis, and then Harrison duos of Chaxes, so Long Arms and Auxiliaries. I mean, look, it's just Tohaa. It's Tohaa being Tohaa. We did see some reinforcement profiles though for the Agao. I don't think this is very different from the current Agaos. I remember the Agaos being all in the 20-point range. I really want to dare to compare these, because I'm pretty confident these are at least 5 to 7 points cheaper than they used to be. And Agaos were weirdly placed as like the one kind of like dedicated CC troop.
Yeah, Agaos are 26 and 28 points.
Yeah, and these guys are 16 points, which I think is the friend. Oh no, they had Frenzy before. Weird. Frenzy Martial Arts 3, CC -3, Courage Dodge +1, Mid -3,
no
stealth,
camo.
no camo. That's what it is.
Or
They can't
infiltration,
camo.
but meh.
That's because I don't think any of the reinforcement stuff is camo.
Which would make sense. But some have hidden deployment. Potentially.
The drop pod was invisible.
That's right, yeah. Infiltration's obviously gone, stealth's gone. Yeah, so they've got like a 9-point discount.
They still have stealth.
Oh, they do. Yeah, okay. Well,
They lost was infiltration camo.
And camo. So not being able to camo.
Marker
afterwards.
state loss is pretty huge.
That's super relevant, yeah.
Is it 9 points? Also, they gained shock on their DA weapons. They were DA before. Now
they were just DA plus shock. DA plus shock. Yeah. So it's interesting because these will probably just be the like, this is what the difference is going to look like, I think, Dan, is this is the difference between a reinforcement unit and like a different stat unit. Like these guys will be a reinforce profile, and then the other ones will have those skills added in when they parse them out.
Yeah,
I think this is an incredible buff, though.
Oh, well, I mean, I think if you take them as reinforcements in this reinforcement format, like I don't think these profiles will be available to
vanilla,
anyone else, right? Like,
right,
because they're too good for 17 points and 18 points. They're kind of impressive. And also the fact that there's a mirror ball one in here, which means you can just if you have Fairwear Tactics, or sorry, it's just Fairwear Tactics mirror ball. So that means that they can just put out inside their zone of control with a whip check at Eclipse Grenade.
And he's 10 points cheaper. So like the points don't add up there because he's identical. Like he has all the same differences the others do, but he's not 9 points. He's 10 points for some reason. Look, I think you guys who have faith in this point system have a lot more faith. This is like, I'm not going to say GW, but like it's not as foolproof. There's shit like this that slides through where it's like, there is a point difference here. And like, as much as 1 point doesn't matter, 1 point matters. Especially when you're going to bring 3 or 4 of a guy. Maybe not on this guy, but
yeah.
1 point is the difference for your jackboat team.
Yeah, for sure. The Drow look kind of close. It looks like the 33.1s, SMG, Pulsar, Decharges, Shock Mines, or Dazers are kind of the same. Yep, those two are the same, the 33.1s. The AP Marksman rifle got a point cheaper, yeah. Because he lost
We found the Agao guy.
Did he lose Mine Layer? He lost Mine Layer. That's why.
So Mine Layer is a 1 point skill?
I guess. Yeah.
Dude, I don't think we can trust anything that we're looking at.
It's
like
starting
anything at all.
Yeah.
I think the Agaos are going to change. I bet you those Agaos go up like 5 points.
Maybe. The Coast Wheels, I think, also got slightly cheaper because I think there's a Mine Layer option that maybe got taken out. It looks like they're just being tweaked for like their deployment skills, having their deployment skills like pulled out. Coast Wheel Assault Pioneer, where are you?
Medium infantry. 25, 29, 26. Close enough. They lost mine layer.
They lost the mine layer one, yeah. And there's still a K1 combi and a boarding shotgun.
That was the 1 point for mine layer again. So
Yeah,
mine
I'd
layer
say it
is
is.
a 1 point skill.
It's a 1 point skill. Honestly, that's what it is.
Well, fair enough.
Not the same.
Tohaa's a dead faction, so we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just say that every time. You can't
Just
buy
every
it.
time.
It's not
Can't-
real.
It's not real.
We'll never
Doesn't
talk
matter.
about it because it doesn't exist.
That's fair.
Anyone
right,
who
well,
plays
let's end-
Tohaa already played Tohaa.
Let's end this on the thing that drove Owen crazy, which I think is great, which is Aleph.
I don't know how I missed the fact that the fucking Pano bot was the better comparison.
Yeah.
Because I called out this guy, but the Pano one is like the new squad.
to the Shikush, yeah.
Because like I've been sitting here and I have my 2 Shikushis as we speak in front of me being painted.
Yeah.
And I got 2. Like,
You mean your
don't
2
get me
Squall
wrong,
Mark
I
IIs?
I still got them. Like I'm still
Painful.
gonna try and make it work, but
I know.
it's so crazy. Like,
Well,
anyway,
let's talk about it.
Aleph.
Let's talk about the biggest boy.
And the unsung hero that's in here that I'll bring up because you probably won't.
Fair enough. So we got this is the Ankh program. These are the new Aleph units, the reinforcements. It's made up of Takbot rickshaws and Daywans, which we haven't seen yet. Apsaras, Artalis, which is
Yes,
a new
we have.
unit. Satras. We've seen the Daywan and the rickshaw.
Yep.
Oh, you mean in
Scroll.
these spoilers? I'm just talking
Oh, in
about
these spoilers in general.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no, I'm not
okay.
talking about spoilers.
Yeah,
I'm talking
yeah,
about what's new. Like because the Apsaras is an existing unit. Arjunas, which is an existing unit. Dazius,
yeah.
Sophatex.
The Artalis and
Wonders.
Satra are also new.
The Artalis and Satra, yeah, which are new, but then the Arjuna is not is an existing unit. The Dazius is the Sophatex are. I'm hoping we get a new Rudris and the Daleth Semek rebots, the robots, Udbots, and Maximus are also in here. Ankfar teams, which are Core Harrison Duo. You get the TAC bots, so the Rickshaw and the Day Ones, up to 5. There's no minimums. The Artalis and the Arjuna.
No, I learned that the star means that you're required to take one of those.
One of the other. One of
Yeah.
those 2, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's not like one of them isn't like the one you have to take.
Right. Yeah.
Then you can have a Maximus fire team duoed, but you have to have Maximus in it, and he can duo with either a Daleth, a Samek, an Apsaras, or a Sophatek to give him back rubs, which I think is great. We'll end on Maximus because he's
Okay.
great. And we'll start with the robots because they're the big feature here, the TAC bots. So these are kind of like new Dakinis. They're 6'4" move, CC 22, BS 11, Fizz 13, Whip 12, Arm 1, BTS 3. You can have up to 5 of these guys. Remote presence, martial arts 2, which I think is really interesting. ECM hacker -3, dodge +2, 2-inch, dodge +3, total immunity, dogged and religious. And they're 19 points for a chain rifle +1 burst, Flammenspear, multi-pistol +1 burst, EM close combat weapon for 19 points. And there's also a Pulsar +1 burst Blitzen with the same melee loadout, except shock instead of EM for the close combat weapon, and a boarding shotgun loadout with multi-pistol and shock CC weapon.
Want to see a
Holy crap!
profile?
I love these guys.
Who's never gonna show up in the vanilla faction? Here he is.
This is the guy, because if he gets Rem Racered, it is the end of the world. Because if he gets Rem Racered, he's CC 34 with his short bonus. He crits on
Carlos, don't let us down.
crits
Carlos,
on
don't let us down.
6s. Could you imagine? It'd be like watching. Yeah, it'd be like watching.
And he gets +1 armor with his total immunity.
He sure does. He'd be totally
And Fizz 16. So he hits
with
you
an
with
EM close combat weapon, and he would
Yeah.
just kill anything in melee.
Yeah.
It would be bonkers. I mean, he'd have to get there, and doesn't have a super great delivery
Yeah,
system.
all he has is
Dogged.
6'4" movement and dodge +3.
Dodge +3. He dodged on 16s. But yeah, holy crap! What a chassis this guy is. What an absolute hero. I just want to see this like skinny little robot with giant boxing gloves walk in and start shocking people. I love this guy. I hope this profile's not wrong. This is the one I'll be saddest about if it's wrong.
Yeah,
because he's
this
so
guy's
cool.
Wild.
Yeah, he's so wild. I love it. It's a melee robot. Like, I don't know why that makes me so happy, because they haven't really done one yet.
Is he the first remote to get martial arts?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, there's been a tag with martial arts, but there's never been a remote, I think, with martial arts.
Yeah, I can't think of a remote.
No,
at all.
He's a chappy.
If anyone would have, it would have been Aleph. Or...
Yeah, or like, yeah. So like maybe like
Combined or Aleph was the
Morats
two
or
that I would've
something.
taken
Yeah,
before.
right. Like,
But the
but he's
Morats
just-
aren't gonna
he-
have a remote.
he just feels like what was that stupid movie with Real Steel? He feels like the real
when they're
Steel
boxing.
robot.
Yeah.
He's just the Real Steel robot. I want to see this guy real steal some faces. It's gonna be great. And the rickshaw is like the shooty version of this guy. So he's 6'2" movement, which is slightly slower. CC 13, BS 12, Whip 13, Arm 3, BTS 3 still remote presence, courage, ECM hacker -3, dodge +2 inch, but he's immune to shock as opposed to total immunity, mid -3 and terrain total.
And, you put armor
and
on
then
this one.
same kind of profiles, but he's got like a forward observer, red fury, heavy rocket, light shotgun, and a boarding shotgun. I'm not as rah with this guy because he's just kind of a Dakini.
I'm another guy who can shoot gun.
Yeah,
Is
he's just kind of a
-3.
he's like a
cool.
yeah, mid -3 and hacker -3 are both really cool. I don't know. I like him. He just feels like a Dakini that's kind of tailor made for reinforcements. That's all.
A kind of cool like fairy dust remote with
Mhm.
ECM -3, and they're all of a sudden like weirdly resilient to hacking. I don't know why though. Not when we have like Meccano Arms here who's just strangling people in the other room. Like,
Yeah. That's right.
what'd you
They got
bring?
real
I brought
steel, man.
I brought a 5-man team of day ones. They just walk around as a big gang and beat people up. He's first 5.
He just club people to death with his bare hands. Oh god, I want him to be one of the Mega Man villains. That's what I want him to be. Oh,
Doesn't
so
even
good.
have hands, just big tasers.
Just big shock knucks.
The only problem is that CC doesn't exist in this game.
Yeah,
It's true.
That's
There's
Owen
never
did
been
tell us
melee.
that. He never plays CC.
One day.
Okay, and then we have the man, the legend,
Before we get to
Maximus.
Maximus, I do want to make a comment
Sure.
that the Arjuna unit is in this, which
Yeah.
I think is absolutely bonkers, considering that the Arjuna unit can bring 2 guys who both have Marats, and you can deploy them on the halfway point where 6-4. That's crazy.
Yeah, unless
Like-
the profile's different because we haven't seen the profile. They might not let
Yeah.
you take that profile, right?
Unless they're going to take away the thing that makes the Arjuna, which is his remotes. Like, he then
Maybe.
just becomes marksmanship rifleman.
Yeah.
Which they might do.
Is he
But if they-
linkable?
He isn't unless he isn't right now at all, period.
He's not linkable. Then he probably keeps his remotes. Yeah.
But there is a linkable version in this little reinforcements tab.
Oh, then he's probably
But
not. Then he probably
there
doesn't
are
have the
there are
career modes, yeah.
versions of him that you could bring currently that don't have it. There's like 1.
Yeah, there's a
2,
Spitfire,
3.
there's a shock marksman, there's a boarding shotgun that all
And then
don't
there's
have the Karan
do you
bots.
get 1 or do you get 2 Karan bots?
Yeah,
But if they
yeah.
allow you to keep that Karan bot and you can bring marksman rifle with 2 Karan bots or boarding shotgun with 2 Karan bots, that's crazy because you can just throw Karan bots away and Emarat and Cybermine and Emarat and Emarat.
I mean, you get 1 turn, right?
Okay. Want to see how much work I can get done with 6 guys with Emerats starting on the halfway point with movement 6?
Well, you're gonna get 6.
Who all
They're
activate?
pretty spendy. They're 30-ish
Well, you get-
points. You get
you
3
get
of them,
2.
maybe.
You
Yeah.
get 2 of these because they're max 2. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
going to cost you 68 points. One of them uses his own order and 3 of them move. And then the other one uses his order and 3 of them move. And they lay a shit ton of templates or shotgun shells at you. And
Sure.
you're not going to be able to do anything other than react to that. I mean, is that more obnoxious than some of the other stuff that's been shown here? Like Mr. Chain Rifle on 4 or Riot Stopper 4? Maybe not, but I think he's a specialist. So like, I can do all the things. I can show up with Whip 14 and click the button. Also, I have these 2 friends of mine who shut down everyone nearby the middle board. Did you kill all 250 points of my friends? Because if you didn't, I've ruined your army. I don't know. I think he's
We'll
crazy.
see.
Let's talk about Maximus.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, but it's only going to be in a game mode that gets played sometimes too, right? So we're that is a sidebar. So Maximus, Optimate, and Hexadome Legend. So this is the glow up for Maximus. He is a character tag. I think the first character tag. He's got all the tag fixins. So he is a size 6 tag. But is still arm 7. So he's a 6'4", CC 24, BS 14, Fizz 15, Whip 13, arm 7, BTS 6, 3 structure. CC attack +2 damage. So you're looking at Fizz 17, BS attack +1 damage for all of his guns. Courage, ECM guided -6, dodge Fizz 13, dodge +2 inches, shock immune, gizmo kit on 13s, which is good for a size 6 tag, tack aware, natural born warrior, and he's immune to possession because while he is a tag, he's kind of just wearing a huge suit of body armor, right? He's just a huge guy in a really big, like outsized tag. Yeah. He's got 2 profiles. Now, this is eating up most of your reinforcement points if you're using it as a reinforcement. He's 71 points with a +1 burst multi-marksman rifle and a Panzerfaust and an APDA close combat weapon. Or if you make him chain of command, he's 76 points. So, I mean, I don't know. You can make him a specialist by taking the chain of command, which is pretty cool. And then when he gets out, he's still a nightmare because he's a medium infantry with the pilot skill, where he's CC 23, BS 12, Fizz 12, Whip 13, Arm 3, BTS 3, and he's still CC attack +2 damage, so he's Fizz 14, Courage, Dodge +2 inches, Shock Immune, Natural Born Warrior, Specialist, and Pilot, with a multi-rifle and a heavy pistol, AP plus DA close combat weapon. He still punches really hard. Yeah.
Interestingly, there's a second profile that was released for this guy who is not the reinforcement one. They've already shown it.
Yeah, they've shown the core profile for him too.
Command and gains lieutenant, and also gains immunity to crits. Just as a weird thing, it's in that wall of text of his 16 abilities. Yeah,
his shield makes immune to crits, and then
he doesn't have when he's drop trooping.
He's only the 71 point profile now.
Yeah, or lieutenant. He can't be lieutenant in the other.
They're both 71 points, is what I was going to say. But there's zero. Right. He's 0 SWC if he's lieutenant, which I think is funny.
Yeah.
What do you think about this guy, Owen? Because you were going on about him.
Well, first off, 71 points for everything that Ash has written off here. Let me tell you about the Shakoosh. Because, like, this is the thing. Like, multi-rifle +1 burst. Sorry, multi-marksman rifle +1 burst is a Spitfire. Like, it has 1 extra damage.
That can also shoot DAs.
But it can also shoot DAs. And it can also shoot shock, which is sometimes more valuable than AP. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes. But then BS14 as well. He's Fizz 15. His gizmo kits are better. He's also 6'4". He's also Natural Born Warrior. He's also CC capable because he's CC 24 with Natural Born Warrior, which means nobody in the game wants to fight this guy in melee. Even those monofilament like super ninjas that are floating around out there, they might get to roll 2. Sorry, they can't roll 2 dice because his Natural Born Warrior cancels the martial arts 5. So like, don't fight him because he might just kill you because he'll crit on 16s as well. And if he hits you, you're going to die because it's AP plus D8 damage 17. Like, yeah.
So here's what you get for 9 points. Let's just compare him for a second to the same chassis for 9 points compared to an Agamemnon who's in the same faction. So for 9 more points, you get +4 to your CC. You get +1 to your Fizz. You get -1 to your whip, but you get +1 to your armor. You also gain the +2 to CC damage. So your CC, your Fizz is even higher. You're 17.
You get an AP plus DA weapon, not just
you get an AP. Yeah, you get the AP added to your close combat weapon. You get immune to crit. You get immune to possession.
And immune to possession is gigantic.
It's gigantic. Yep.
Yep.
And I believe the gizmo kit bonus as well. Yep. You get the gizmo kit bonus as well.
And
the dodge bonus.
Yep. And the dodge +2.
Yep. Yeah. For 9
points.
Weapons,
you get AP Spitfire on the Agamemnon versus this guy's multi-marksman +1 burst. And again, I would take the multi-marksman +1 burst over an AP Spitfire.
Every time. Yeah. Well,
and
also, your SWC cost goes down by either 1.5 or 1.
Yeah. And you lose a flamethrower with +1 burst, which is relevant.
Yeah, which is relevant. You lose your defensive attack, but you also become the defensive attack.
But now you could just bludgeon them to death.
Yeah. You can't peace trade with a template, but you become Maximus.
And you gained an armor.
I mentioned that. I mentioned that.
Yeah.
So like, he's real good.
I think this guy took, if he shows up in Steel Phalanx, and I'm confident he's gonna, because they gave you the lieutenant one. I think he's gonna take the Agamemnon and Achilles, both of them, just out back. Like, sorry guys, I'm the new. Like, maybe he doesn't show up there. Maybe Maximus goes into SSS, which I think would be cool. He'd actually like.
I like that SSS. He'd be great if he was in there.
The Marut can do a lot, but the Marut's very like one-dimensional. Whereas this guy is just like, hey, Asuras, stand aside. I'll deal with this. Like,
he's almost like a super Asura, like a giant Asura that isn't a hacker.
I gave up my multi-specters 3 for the ability to beat you to death. Like, yeah.
He's
I
a
think
lot of
that'd be
raw
something.
power. He's a lot of raw stat power. He's got a ton. Like he doesn't have like built-in defensive tech, but some of his defensive tech is just that he doesn't care about getting fought in melee. Like he'll squash
Crit
anybody
immune
who
and
fights him in melee.
immune to possession are both huge.
Yeah.
And he has the oh no, he doesn't have the hacker -3. Or he doesn't, it's buried in this wall of text.
No, he doesn't. He's just
No.
got he's ECM guided.
Yeah. So you lose the ECM hacker -3, which means with the fairy dust, you can't stack them as high. So is that a guess?
Yeah, you can
Still-
still
He's
isolate him or
oblivion
mobilize
prone.
him.
That seems to be like the one soft spot is you can oblivion a bit easier. Because his
Basically,
whip's
everybody
lower too.
can be like
But his whip's
one
lower
lower,
than the
right?
Agamemnon,
Yeah.
right? So like
Losing
that's
the
if you're
ECM
comparing
hacker.
him.
Yeah.
If you're comparing him, lower whip and no ECM hacker mod.
Yeah. So he's hacker susceptible. Like that's his thing.
Yeah.
You
He can be
you can hack
isolated.
him a little more.
Mhm.
Yeah. But he's also they're both size 6, yeah.
But I like him. I think he's cool. I don't think I'm not gonna go as far as to say he unseats Achilles or any other guys because I think Achilles actually is always going to benefit from being size 2, for being easier to hide in the defensive turn, and of course his mimetism stack and stuff as well. I think Achilles is still I think they're both equally good at doing separate things. I think this guy's got
will go down to armor 4, whereas Achilles is only ever armor 4.
Yeah,
There's something to be said.
Sure.
And they're both vulnerable to hacking.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And then with MSV showing up a little bit more, I guess Achilles kind of has a better weapon with explosive, but this guy hits harder. So
he has martial arts. So I think Achilles hits as hard because he's martial arts 4.
sure.
So he's also Fizz 17.
Oh, that's true. That's true. You do get the extra ones there.
Yeah. So
That's
he's gonna
true.
be 14 plus 3, yeah.
Yeah. No, he's Fizz 15.
Oh, so he's 18. So sorry, he actually hits harder than Maximus does.
Yeah. But without
Of course he
18.
does.
But yeah, doesn't
Yeah,
matter at
it's
that point.
funny.
When you start rolling 18.
When you're rolling against
breaking
18s,
legs. Yeah.
3 dice against 18, someone's gonna get
Yeah.
wounded. Yeah.
No, that's
And you're
true.
critting on 20
I just
16s.
think that this guy is like, he's very good. I think if you're going to bring a 70-ish point guy, and I had the choice, he doesn't have the downsides that Achilles does in the fact that MSV is kind of universal now. Everybody got one, and everyone can.
Every faction got one. To say everybody
Right.
got one, but every faction got a counter tech to mimetism. Yeah.
Right. It's just that much more common. Like hacking has also become more common, but they were both susceptible to that. Achilles is stealth, but 6 senses everywhere now. I don't know. I think it's cool.
I
have
think
one
I
who's
just
wearing
hope what
Trojan armor.
I just hope what you said happens, and he's not a steel phalanx thing, and he shows up in other subfactions. I think that would be great.
If he's in Steel Phalanx, I think it'll be actually not great for Steel Phalanx.
I don't think it'd be
already
bad. I think he's just going into a rogues gallery in Steel Phalanx where it's just like, well, which one do I take?
there
Like
are
I have so many
5 of
options
him
already,
if
right?
you
There's
go
like
into
there's a
Steel Phalanx.
Hector, there's a him, there's an Achilles. Like he doesn't stand out there. Whereas if he went to OSS, he'd get a whole bunch of like use.
Yeah. Or even make better case of playing a vanilla faction.
Yeah, and have him show up as a duo profile maybe in vanilla, so people could ride along with him. I think it'd be
Weirdly,
cool.
you can't actually give him a Sovitek as a drop group in this reinforcement. The costs are too high. So unless they modify the Sovitek, you don't get to play that game.
That's funny. Unless the Sovitek gets cheaper.
I think they're like 2 points off from being able to do it. So you could cheapen a Sovitek by 2 points by giving them like an SMG or something. But
Look.
As it stands, you can't do it.
You bring the Sovitek in your main army, and when he comes in, you spend a command point, duo them, and then have Hatter.
That's true.
They're different groups. Can't.
You move it into the different.
You're
group.
not allowed to change them in groups.
Yeah, you're not allowed. It's
The turn they
core
come in.
rules
That's right. You
reinforcements.
can't.
No, you can't do it the turn they come in, and odds are it'll be second or third if
because it happens
statement
after
about
the
that.
strategic command token use.
Yeah.
Fine.
So you could give a Sovitek an SMG rather than a combi to drop their points a little bit, and then you could have that, which they might do because that's something. And like, why else do it if you're not going to do that? But he's only ever going to have 2 orders and a tack aware, which is pretty brutal too, unless he chain of commands and becomes commander. But then you can't do it for sure, because it's 5 point different. So I actually think he's not cool in this reinforcement thing, but he's definitely a cool model.
He's so many points. Like you can fit the Squallow. I don't think you can fit this guy's easy in reinforcements. I think he just goes in the main list.
I wonder if that's why they released the other thing right away.
Also, I think they released the other thing right away. They'll probably do the same thing where the Cascuda when we see it come out, just because they want to sell that box. That Gen Con exclusive box is going up for pre-order this weekend.
Yeah, and then seeing that not only is he going to be in this reinforcement thing, you can bring him in.
But here's this. Yeah, here he is. Here's on the table for Aleph.
And even as not lieutenant, like just 71.5 SWIC. If you want your like big hitter piece, he doesn't need anybody. Like, it's one of those things you don't need any setup. It's just raw stats.
He's just raw stats. Yeah, he's a big hitter. He's going to do a lot of work.
And he's like super efficient stats too. Like,
that's exactly what it said. It's like the Agamemnon. It's the same reason. It's the same reason I like the Agamemnon. It's a very straightforward like fight piece.
Like the Shikush.
Like the Shikush. Like the Shikush wishes the Shikush was.
The Shikush definitely wishes he
in
was
in a dream world
resembling these Greek gods. No, you don't understand.
World.
They have to pay 13 more points for this, peasant. They earned it. The +1 to 7 to all of their stats and better guns and skills.
So we're still waiting on nomads. We're still waiting on combined army, and if they're doing anything for N2A. So we will cover that next week. Maybe we'll do like an in-between episodes, like recap, maybe sometime next week. Or over the weekend. Maybe Owen and I'll just jump on if we see this stuff over the weekend, and we'll get it out too. But this is what we got. I don't know. I'm super excited for new profiles. I like that some of the stuff we said that came around where they're giving glow ups to like older profiles. I think it's a good way to do it, right? This is a cool way of taking units that had kind of like fallen by the wayside. That first question from the mailbag and just giving them new life. So I'm excited. I'll be honest,
about that. Having now read them, they didn't. Other than the Yagao, they're the same.
So, you mean like the Moblots and the ones we've seen, yeah, but there's going to be ones that are different too, right?
Maybe
like,
so
there's some we haven't seen. We haven't seen sec bands. We haven't seen, you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be some that we haven't seen.
I'm super excited for the new profiles. I think all the new stuff is cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Even the stuff in the Ariadna, who kind of, in my opinion, are like the least interesting of the new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Their new guy, like the Apache, is a cool thing. Like that's a cool model who's got a lot of fun gameplay mechanics of running around and jumping and doing stuff. But like, other than that, the new stuff in each faction is really cool. Like really cool. Too cool. Power creep.
I'm excited to see if they do anything to Jan's bands or sec bands and stuff like that. Even little tweaks I think are interesting. Remember talking about
change bolts. Make bolts do something neat.
Yep. I like to see bolts get new models at least, because I like my bolts.
And show me what this Dakobe cyber team is.
Yes, we do want to see what the robots do in Yujing as well. Yeah. And because there's lots to come, right? So we'll just keep going through these.
Now that we've opened the doors to Fisto Roboto.
We might have Fisto Roboto. Can't wait for Fisto Roboto. It's gonna be great.
Yep.
All right. Well, there it is. We've done our reinforcement roundup for the first phase of what we've seen, and we'll follow up with the next one. So thanks for listening, everybody. I'm going to bed.
You too. Bye.
Bye.